Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. Great to see you all here. And yeah, it's been a while, so I've been particularly excited to get back into the streaming seat, as it were. So thank you all for taking the time to come along today, and let's get a traditional, normal sector done on a live stream. It's been a while. I'm a bit nervous. I haven't done this for a long time, so yeah, I want to. I've been looking forward to doing it again. So, first of all, of course, let's explain what we're doing. I'm so out of practice at this. We're going to take a 320 NEO, the latest experimental A32NX. Oh, it's not experimental anymore, is it? It's development. Experimental seems to have disappeared. I've got so much I need to catch up on in the world of flight sim. But yeah, so I've got the latest development version, which was all I could find available. And we're going to take it from here in Ljubljana using the special scenery we were kindly sent over by Scenic Routes. We're going to take a quick look at that scenery, and then we're going to head over to Luton, where I've got the UK 2000 scenery as well, actually. I thought I'd pick that up just for my own amusement at Luton. And we are going to have a bit of fun. We've got a 2-hour flight time, so we're going to have plenty of time to chat, talk about questions. I've also changed my setup slightly at this end. I'm today using the Winwing A32NX grip. I finally got it mounted up onto the desk using a Monster Tech mount, so I'm going to try that out and see how that goes, because previously I've always been flying using the Thrustmaster joystick, the Airbus TCA joystick and throttle quadrant. I'm still using the Thrustmaster throttle quadrant, but I'm going to try out the A32NX grip. Now I've got this desk mount, I think it's going to be a lot more usable. It does take up a bit more space though, there's no doubt about that. So jumping into the chat, first on YouTube, James Cooper, good to see you, thanks for coming along. Matteo, thanks for coming and moderating. Eboss, Dave Geimer, Kweku, Victor Tango, thanks for coming to moderate as well. Dana J. Suresh, good to see you again. It has been a long time no see indeed. I do apologise, it's been busy, partly work, partly life. So yeah, this has been our second extended break over the last few months. I don't think we've done too badly. I got one video out with the honeycomb, not the honeycomb, that's completely wrong, with the Turtle Beach yoke. But yeah, I haven't had a flight for a little while, so yeah, good to see you all here. Thanks for taking time. Pie in the Sky tours. Chickpoint, good to see you as well. Thanks so much. Chickpoint's doing better. Excellent, good to hear. Chickpoint, I hope you continue to improve. Jonathan Gunthauser, good to see you as well. Sparksy as well. Matic, Paddy, good to see you. Paddy's done a lot of fantastic artwork and liveries for us all in the community. We all owe Paddy a bit of debt for that, definitely. So many. Although this livery today, one of my favourite liveries, was Air livery. This isn't a Paddy livery. This is made by, I got their name here, different user on flightsim.to, pilot matey01. But yeah, one of my favourite liveries, this one. Great stuff. Crashhead, good to see you at Islam. Nick T, Tarek as well. Yeah, I do apologise. There's going to be loads of people I miss. Ralph Skyperian, good to see you as well. Pavel Kostrov, great to have you back. Karen, good to see you. Right, Simon C as well. Also, we're on Twitch, so if anyone's following along on Twitch, Joseph Oliver, good to see you. Glad you like the videos. And we've also got Mollux, who says, basically the experiment has been successful, so no more experimental. All the stuff in the experimental is now part of the dev. Excellent, there we go. And Blueberry King, good to see you as well. So yeah, Captain Wazza, who's also over on Twitch as well. Packing up for a house move. Good luck with that, Captain Wazza. That's always a big deal. And Mike Bakey, good to have you as well. Right, I should have been caught up on the two platforms. So I always have to do that at the start. Now we are going to take a quick stroll around the scenery. I will be on VATSIM. I've been having that SimConnect error again, so hopefully that passes. But we shall see how it goes. Right, let's start off then with a bit of a whiz around the excuse that pun, whiz around the airport. So Ljubljana, why have I got Ljubljana as the starting point? Well, the scenery, as I said, was sent over by Scenic Routes. That's why I've marked this video as a paid promotion, you might have noticed, just because there's a few little details that Scenic wanted me to point out. So I thought I might as well be fair to you guys that they sent this over, and they're very excited. Run by George, who's been really, really nice and clearly incredibly enthusiastic about this as a product. So we're going to take a bit of a look at it first. Won't take too long. I can see the frame rate is already suffering at your end. I tried so many tests to make sure it wouldn't do that, and I don't know why. We will find out. It's running completely smooth on my end, but yeah, we shall see how this goes. Annoying. Anyway, this is live weather. It's snowed out, as you can see, but you can already get a picture of the ground textures. I've had to lower the resolution slightly, and oh my goodness, James Cooper, £100 donation. That is that's outrageous. Thank you so much, James. It's incredibly generous. And James has been a big supporter of the channel for a while now, so that's incredibly kind, James. James says, I'll kick off the evening with your Christmas present. Sadly, I'm only here for an hour and a half, but just want to say a huge thank you for all the videos over the years. The tutorials and reviews have really helped myself and the community. Merry Christmas. James, that's that's incredibly generous. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you too, and I really, really appreciate it. Again, always great to hear that the videos have been useful for people, but still there's absolutely no need to do that, so thank you so much. And yeah, an hour and a half, we'll get into the air and then you might have to catch up on the landing another time, but yeah, really yeah, far too generous, and it's really appreciated. Don't know what else to say. I'll just start rambling. I do apologize, James, but thank you so much. Right, so yeah, so we are going to have a bit of winter ops when we do set off, but I will in a moment change the weather around just so we can see some other context. I apologize about that lag. I'm hoping that will go away in the flight deck. It usually does. It's to do with the frame rate going too high. I have limited it. I need to limit it some more, clearly. But as you can see, scenery has been done with texturing that is 3 centimeters, done from aerial photography. So let's put it to a normal time of day. Sorry, normal season. We won't do live weather. There we go. Let's just have some scattered clouds in December. Right. So yeah, this texturing has been done down to 3 centimeters. I believe they're working on another airport. Not sure which airport that is. Down to 1 centimeter. But yeah, so the stands are all in the right place. This has been incredibly carefully done with all the road markings and so on, which they say are very accurate. Now, I have operated Ljubljana. It's one of my favorite destinations, as I've said before on the channel. I absolutely love it. It's a really beautiful part of the world to fly into. So over here we got the terminal, and there is quite a fun little feature. There is a go-kart track here, and if you set it to the right time of season, which we are not in December, if you get it to summer, there we go. We got look at that little go-karts going around, a sort of track they set up in the car park, which I didn't realize, so that's great fun. So yeah, very impressed with that. Always like these little details. Animated little parts of the world. Thank you again, James, for the donation. Really appreciate it. And if we go over to the main terminal, this is quite a new terminal now over at Ljubljana. I have been through this as a passenger as well, and I can tell you this is exactly what it looked like. I could walk through it. There's a little coffee shop here, I believe, and then you've got the this is the arrivals hall, and obviously we go upstairs for departures. And oh look, they got this is actually really strange. It's uncanny. This is exactly as it is. So yeah, they've done a great job. This is sort of the duty-free shops, and they got drinks and snacks over there. Yeah, and then you go through and along, and then all the departure gates. So yeah, ridiculous level of detail we get with these terminals these days. It's really quite something. Don't worry, we'll get in the air soon. Don't panic. Some other features that you get. So this is through to passport control for the UK flights, or non-Schengen flights, as it were. Other things you get, I mean, you can just look at the ground texturing. It's yeah, it is excellent. Let me just bring up the notes. So yeah, that's right. So apparently the Real Life Airport ATC Academy use this scenery for their sim. So that shows you the level it reached. So they must be very happy with it. So the real ATC, they use it for their training, which is quite impressive. Also the devs are very keen to point out that they're here to stay, and they're determined to bring scenery up to the next level. So I know this sounds a bit like an advert, but I as I said, this is been sent over, and they're very excited. So that enthusiasm is sort of infectious for me, so I thought I'd bring it across to you guys as well. And there we go, Ljubljana. I don't know why my drone constantly tries to rotate left and right. I do struggle with that. Also, the jet bridges are animated, which is always nice. So there you go. So this is our steed for the day, Hotel Alpha Lima Juliet Alpha, connected already with nice glass jet bridge, because it is a very modern terminal. And I do like the animated flags. That's why I chose this stand. I think that's great fun. What's that one say? Ljubljana Airport. Yeah, just their logo. And then the Slovenian flag, of course. Slovenia, quite a small country, but no doubt an absolutely beautiful one. As we head down, something interesting about this airport to operate into, it's pretty much one way in, one way out. You nearly always use runway 30 in my experience, which results in a long taxi down this taxiway. And you can see there, they've got the road traffic. Oh, and they do have, I believe, oil markings and so on Let me just bring up the chat, make sure I can see. The drone auto rotation is annoying. I think everyone has it. Thanks to you. Yeah, there we go. Glad it's not just me. Now they have oil. There we go. Yeah, oil markings and so on. So airplanes obviously lose fluids all the time. They're leaking from the sinks. They're leaking from the engines. So yeah, nice to have those markings shown. It's amazing how grubby aprons can get. And after de-icing, of course, airports can be absolutely covered in fluids. But there we go. This, I'll be interested to see. This should be downhill. There goes that rotation. So this taxiway here is very long, and if you've got hot brakes and you're taxiing down here, that's a real problem, because as we all know, when you taxi the Airbus, it does try to sort of run away, even at idle thrust. And in Ljubljana, with this huge taxi down to the runway, that can be a bit of a problem. If you've got brake fans, not such an issue, but if you don't, this really heats them up. So yeah, huge runway though, which makes it really nice. But yeah, you typically approach from that end, so land on runway 30 and take off. As you can see there, different texturing for the runway. All very nice. So there we go. I mean, just look at that. That is really, well, it's because they've used it, their own photos. But I think they said they flew overhead at 70 meters to have a go at it. AIG traffic. Yeah, I don't have AIG traffic. So this is these static aircraft are from the scenery pack. So this is Scenic Routes Ljubljana on Sim Market. There you go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is jump into the airplane and get ourselves underway. Look at that. That is great. So you've got the old terminal here, I guess, and the new one up there. Right, out of the drone, and let's get ourselves something a little bit more realistic. We'll put the live weather back on. We're not going to go live time because it will just be pitch black for the whole flight, so that will be no good at all. I have finally, in the time I've been gone, don't worry, I haven't done absolutely nothing. I've finally taken the 2 minutes it took to install the pushback option. So yeah, well done me for finally doing that. Unbelievable. You guys have been telling me for months to download that. So we finally got that. Elias, good to see you. Thank you again, James. Really appreciate that. And Matthew Presley says, you get tight floor dripping off the plane for a day or so after each use. Yeah, absolutely. De-icing fluid comes off the aeroplane as the air goes over it during takeoff. But the problem is it goes behind control surfaces and into hinges and things. So when you then land at the other end, it just sort of seeps out again. Keith says, I bought this recently. It is great. I am biased, though, as I have fond memories of Slovenia. Taking off from Ljubljana gives fabulous views, especially climbing out above winter low-level fog. Yeah, agreed. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to fly. No doubt about it. Matthew Presley says, only thing missing is the random packs asking you where the restroom is because you're in uniform. It's an airport, just pick a direction and you'll find one. Yeah, there you go. Right. Mike's Basement says, I'm doing a flight from Chicago to Copenhagen. Flying from sunrise to sunset is quite special. Lovely. Enjoy that. Yeah, some serious long haul stuff. We haven't done that for a while. Oh, no, not up there. Oh, not down there. Oh, I'm still getting used to this. I've got, like I say, different layouts in my my setup. So let's get the airplane powered on. So obviously the usual things, masters off, most selectors norm, landing gear lever down, wiper selectors off, batteries good voltage so they can go on, and auto, external power on. Now a cold airplane like this, so we'll do it winter ops, you know, we'll treat it like it is as cold as it looks. Let me just turn the volume down. Is there much difference in the setup of the airplane? The airplanes don't like being left off. They're a bit like old style computers that use valves. They don't like being left alone in the cold and the dark for 12 hours. So you can find on a really cold morning like this, this is a likely time for some sort of ECAM fault to appear or something like that, and you have to get the engineers out. It's not unheard of. So it's good to get the airplane turned on and warmed up not too late in the process. You certainly don't want to board passengers without giving it a chance to throw up all its problems. But there we go. So that is done, and then of course we would go through our other bits. Oil. Now the oil on the Neos we know shouldn't actually display yet. You should have to turn on the FADEX, but there we go. Got loads of oil, more than you should actually there. And we also need to look at our hydraulics. It's great that this stuff's all here now. Yeah, it's amazing. I remember, we all remember when this didn't have any of these pages. And oxygen. Do we have enough oxygen? Loads. Neos get 2 bottles, so that's all good. And then we check the other bits from that initial QRH section. Oh, do that. There we go. Clunk. And let's run through our flows. So cruise supply on, ground control on. Set these to nav. Strobes to auto. Nav lights still only have one position. There we go. Seatbelt signs off for now. We're not fueled up. But I am going to get the APU going because I don't believe there's hot air plugged in on that jet bridge. I can't see it. Oh, no. Why has it gone away? Come back. How dare you. Remember to board soon. It takes really long. Yes, good point. So let's do that as well. I'm going to be relying on you guys throughout all of this. Thank you again, James, for that donation. I don't know what to say to that. I keep looking back over the screen, Streamlabs, and it catches me off guard again. Mike's Basement says, do my 6-year-old daughter a huge favour and say banana. There you go. Nice face. Good to see you. I hope you're doing very well. Chickpoint says, I love the Wizz Air livery. Always reminds me of good times with the bright colours. Yeah, absolutely. And I liked the original Wizz Air livery as well as this new one. I think they've had 2 very nice liveries. The only thing I would change about this one, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I would... Where's my aeroplane? This one. Is that ours? Yeah, that's ours. I would get rid of this wizzair.com on the back. We all know... I suppose... I don't know. EasyJet got rid of it, and I think that's a good call, because we all know how to find a website these days. We don't need an address written out for us, you'd think. So, yeah. And they've got it on the engines, and they've got it on the sharklets, so I don't think it needs it there as well. I think they could have written something there, but aside from that, I think it's excellent. Anyway, I've completely digressed. Right. She looked at your stream, had up a banana, and said, say banana. There you go. She's learning what streamers have to do. We just have to respond. Excellent. Right, let's go to... Maybe we need the pack store open. Anyway, we need to also do the boarding. So, into here. I feel like these textures have changed around the MCDU as well, but that could be nonsense. Let's do weight and balance. Request send, so it's all loaded up in SimBrief. This continues to be one of the easier sort of sims to load up. Look at that. So please start, because this does take forever. And does that include cargo? Yes, it's going to load the whole lot. Excellent. So we'll see where that ends up. Let's weight and balance. Init's done. So we go to init A. Okay. Right. Set the QNH 1006. Yeah, it's not quite 1500 feet here. So what's that, about 1300? Seems about right. And let's actually start the APU. That also helps. We'll do that again, I'm sure. And let's run some fire tests. That is lighting up. A bit fainter in the real life. It's a little bit... It's much more noticeable than that, I'd say. Well, we should turn them on now. You'll note, I think I've mentioned this before, people don't. You should, but people don't, because they're convinced it causes a problem with the power changeover. But officially, it's still not written down anywhere that you need to do that. And in the cold, it's quite good for mixing the fuel up. We still don't have fuel temperatures, I see. Interesting. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, the real aircraft, see this little degrees Celsius, it has 4 temperature readouts, 1 in each tank. Dash 8 only reads out the temperature in 1 tank, funnily enough. Right, APU's up and running. Let it warm up, and then we'll get the bleed on. We also need to solve our fuel. I need... How much fuel do I need? 7.4. 7.4 required. Fuel is done over here, I believe, still. You guys will tell me if that's wrong. Please import flight plan from SimBrief. Okay. And... Marcel Dupree, thanks so much for your £2 super chat. Marcel says, thanks for the great streams. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas, Marcel. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. And yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. I can't believe we're already at that stage, but I suppose we are getting there. I'm going to go, we're going to Luton. We need 7.4. I'm going to go 8.4. Go. Refuel. Oh yeah, I've got it set to instant. So there we go. Should have 8.4 now. Excellent. So that's all coming together. Now, let us load up the MCDU. So we've done data, done init A, or it's done it for us, luckily. But thank you again, Marcel. Really appreciate it. And I'm glad you've been enjoying the stream. Sorry, there haven't been any, really. I feel bad. It's been a while. But we'll be back to a bit more of a normal schedule now. So that's init A, flight plan then. So we're going out via Gimmicks, Detza, Sapphire, and through we go. It's about 727 miles, 1 hour 49. I said it's about 2 hours because, of course, we got a little bit extra track miles to add in there. We need to also make sure the wind has gone in. It doesn't. So what we can do is we'll do the component in init B, which will be easier. Let's bring those up. You can change boarding speed in the EFB. Thanks, EU. I will remember to do that. Maybe I'll do it for next time. So, we need 7.4 and a wind component, average wind component, -36. Headwind today. More time for questions. Just put that in there. That'll be absolutely fine. Don't need to have the wind at every stage unless you're being incredibly accurate. Iglufu, good to see you. You're getting tired of rewatching all the old ones. Thanks, Iglufu. Thanks for coming along. How do you know the fuel capacity? So I'm using SimBrief. I don't, for some reason, have it in the iPad here, and I don't fully understand why. I used to. I haven't connected it, I suppose. I need to reconnect it to my SimBrief account. Anyway, so yeah, I'm using SimBrief. Oh, you see the nose just rose there. That does actually happen. You'll be sitting there and the whole thing will suddenly jolt. It's not uncommon when the airplane's cold and the weight's being distributed, well, not incorrectly, but unevenly to start off with. So if you've got passengers or they're boarding at the back, let's say, and not the front, and they also happen putting the rear cargo holds first or something, you'll find the airplane goes up and down. And jet bridges have a little connector in them to make sure that they don't interfere with the airplane, because obviously the last thing we want is for the jet bridge to damage it. Thanks, Simran. Glad you're enjoying it. Chris says, is trip wind only a feature of the NEO or is it in the CEO? Oh yeah, no, it's in the CEO as well. Yeah, that trip wind thing's it's you either load in the wind yourself or you do the trip wind in there. But once you've started up, that's gone. This is only on the init B page, and the init B page is gone when the engine starts. So you'd have to then load in the wind yourself, which is a bit more of a pain, obviously. Right, how are we doing for loading? Where can I see the loading? Well, it's still a bit light. That'll be in the settings somewhere with it. Oh, no smoking, no portable device. Yep, HPA, thank you very much. Oh, there we go, boarding time. Let's do fast, it's always a bit slow. Will that make any difference though? We've already done fuel. Oh, there we go, it's going up now. Good. So that's in it B. Let's have a look at the departures. So, is there an ATIS or any weather here? No, there's not. So, let's grab the weather. I think we're going to depart from runway 30. Thank you very much to Sparksy. Thank you so much, Sparksy, for your €5 super chat. Really appreciate it. Sparksy says, a small token of gratitude for taking my sim flying to the next level, as it's the only flying I can ever do due to messed up cone cells. Oh, that's a real shame, Sparksy, but I'm glad you've been enjoying the videos, and that is the magic of flight sim. It's, you know, my favorite thing about it is that everyone gets to do it. You don't have to you know, be lucky with a whole host of things before you can actually get to fly one of these things, as well. There's definitely some luck that has to be involved, and not everyone gets that, unfortunately. But it is great that Flight Sim allows us to experience it and enjoy it through this medium. So I really appreciate that. So actually, thanks so much for the donation, and I'm glad the video has been helping you out. That's really great to hear. Yeah, I love it. So this won't be an ATIS. Sorry, we're going weather requests. There we go. As our alternate EGCN. Oh, I'm way behind on chat. Way behind on chat. I do apologise. Oh dear. I'm going to have to skip through a whole load of things, so I do apologise for that. Right, sorry about that, everyone. Right, so there we go. So receive messages, METAR. Let's have a look. Print. So what do they got? 2 degrees. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Very good. Light rain. 2 degrees. Broken 2800, 999, and 2804. So runway 30 departure, which is what we wanted anyway. Great. That's printing. Oh, I'm getting some lag today. Has that printed? Yes, it has. Good stuff. I've changed all my controls about, so you're going to see me get everything wrong over and over again, I'm afraid. But there we go. Right, so runway 30 via gimmicks. Runway 30, let's find the gimmicks departure. Oh, there's several, of course there are. So we'll have to do this ourselves. Can't be lazy. I was trying to be lazy. I thought there'd be one, as it's small enough. So here is the airport. Let's make this a bit bigger so you guys can actually see it, I hope. It's a bit of a glitch in Navigraph for now. Parking stands, we're on stand 3 with our little flag in front of us. And then here is the airport. So we're probably going to taxi out Papa down full length from Bravo for runway 30. Gimmicks Zulu departures. Straight ahead, max 210 knots in the turn, left to LJ 711, above 10,500 feet. That's a serious climb gradient. And then up to Gimmicks. So I can tell straight away there'll be a requirement, and here it is. Gimmicks 1 Zulu, we need 11.3% up to 10,500 feet due to airspace restrictions. If unable to comply, advise ATC. So it says airspace restrictions. It's hard to believe that it isn't also related to the mountain right in front of you. I assume that's the same thing in this case. So initial climb clearance flight level 120. Is there a slightly more? No, so the gimmicks all go straight out. There's nothing we can do. Loops around. So the 1 Juliet is a slightly softer climb gradient. I know, 11.3. No, it's the same. Usually there's a departure that's not quite as good. I imagine ATC would give you some vectors to help you climb before heading off that way. Transition altitude, here you go. It's up at 10,500 feet because of all this terrain. We can see the MSAs are obviously going to be around 10.5 once you get out over to this sector. Well, I think we'll do the 1 Zulu. That's the most likely one in this case. Oh, what have I done there? No. One Zulu. The mountains are taking a lot of airspaces, Matteo, exactly. Right, gimmicks, and then off to Denza. All the way through to whatever arrival we've ended up with for Luton, Denver. Not sure on the runway in use. Let's imagine it's an RS for 25. Not sure which of those will end up. We'll check that en route. Don't need to put in the wrong thing just for the sake of it. Okay, good. How's boarding going? 69.1, pretty heavy. So that better not be getting much heavier than that, or we'll be struggling to get out of here performance-wise. Let's go to init B. Load that in. Block fuel, 8.4 as we wanted. In it goes, 68.9 takeoff weight. And alternate fuel today is required to be 1.4. Put that in there. Good. Extra 1.5. That's because it uses more contingency fuel. 4.2 trip is sensible for a 2-hour flight. Yeah, makes sense. Good stuff. Right, finally then performance. It's a nice long runway. So we're going to go flaps 1. I reckon that'll be fine. But we will reduce the flex. Let's go 55. That's my default reduced flex number. So why flaps 1 when we have hills in front of us? Because we have a huge runway. So the best thing we can do here for that performance is take off and get the airplane climbing as cleanly and efficiently as possible. So there's a 210 knot speed limit on that first turn. But aside from that, we'll get the flaps in, and then without the flaps, we'll have our best climb gradient ability once we get the airplane up to speed at green dot if we need to be. Flap 3 would be great for the short runway, but as soon as we're in the air, it's just slowing us down, just providing too much drag. So there we go. So we'll go flaps 1, no problem there. Thrust reduction acceleration at 2.7, so we'll have that high gradient up to 2.7. Then we'll sort of clean up and go to green dot. You'll notice our clean speed is 2.24, so we can't actually go to flap 0 until we're past the first turn. However, that turn looks pretty close to me. Let's have a look. Flight plan. There it is. Oh no, okay. It's 2.5 miles, so we might find ourselves holding flap 1 before we make the turn. So we'll just need to keep an eye on that and get ready for it to automatically accelerate as it goes around the turn. We're cleared up to flight level 120. We know that. So let's put that in there. And there's the speeds. 136, 141, climb nav 152, 12,000. We'll make that flight level later. Great. I think it's all coming together. Sadly, the terrain is still not operative. We're on 1228. Oh, I've lost my... Oh. Does anyone know the key binding for Avionics Master on? That would be really useful. Sorry, my chair's creaking as I move around because what I've done is by changing all my setup, I've completely messed it up, obviously. Mike's Basement says, I'm a little scared of landing at Copenhagen today. The meter says 15020 gusting 32. Oh, you'll be fine at Copenhagen. It hasn't got too much terrain around, so it doesn't tend to get too rough. Thanks for the follow to the animator. Fuel is on EFP only. There we go. Thanks, Lucas. Simon says, I'd love to hear your view on the Boeing TCA pack also, and perhaps another Boeing flight with a guest pilot. Yeah, so the guest pilot flight I want to do again. Yeah, with the Boeing. Absolutely. Let's get some aircon on what temperature reached. With a jet bridge, it wouldn't be too cold. Yeah, 24. It probably wouldn't be 24, but depends if you had all the doors open. Yeah, the Boeing stuff I'd love to try out, but I don't have any. But maybe one day. Maybe one day. Right, what do we need to get rid of? Let's get... Well, we know we're boarded, so we can get rid of the jetway. And what else is going on down there? We've already got rid of that. We just need the rear... What's that? Is that catering? Yeah, that's the rear catering. Doors look like they're all closed up. Another 757 stream, says Simon. Ah, that would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while. Indeed, Peter, this is the fly-by-wire A320. Thanks for those follows on Twitch. Page up is Avionics Master. Let's hope that's right. Brilliant. Thanks so much. That worked. Because we've had that go very wrong on us before. And how do I get the tug to connect? Okay, I see. We'll do that when we actually want to get going. Okay, good stuff. Right. So, what is left to do? Get rid of the ground power. Get the passenger signs on. We're all warmed up. MCDU's loaded. I think it's time for the checklists. Crabmaster Twitch is available on the Discord. I'm sure someone could provide the link. I've forgotten the link. Typing Trill, it's not, sadly, it's not laggy on my end. It's to do with the streaming software. I'm going to have to try that up again. Because I thought I'd solved it, but it seems to have not worked. So, cockpit prep is completed for both of us. Gear pins and covers are removed. Signs on and auto. ADs are in nav. Fuel quantity, we've got 8.4. And it's balanced. Takeoff data is all set. Barref 1006. All looking good. So we said we'd do wind drops. Temperature's 2 degrees. If it was actually raining, we'd be in the area now of having to do engine run-ups on the taxi out. Looks like it's dry, although there's almost snow on that one. There is snow on that one. Very good. So things we're going to do, well, I'm going to do 2-engine taxi because single engine does not work on contaminated snow or ice. Our takeoff performance would also have to account for it, but we're not going to use that today because it's not simulated, and its takeoff performance is hugely complex at times when you're trying to do it with calculations like this. So most airlines will have an automated system to help with that. So yeah, we're not going to go too far into that, although during the flight maybe I can talk a bit about it from what the bits I do know. We're also going to take the taxi very slowly. These airplanes slide around incredibly easily in this sort of conditions, and we're going to have engine anti-ice on for the taxi because of course those engines are sitting there sucking in all sorts of snow and things off the ground as well. Mash says, what indicates in the A320 that you converted back to indicated airspeed from Mach speed? It actually will tell you up here. It says speed at the moment. That would say Mach when you're on a Mach. So on the FCU, also down here, it will say speed or Mach. Those are the two options. Right, so the checklist is done. Let's go below the line. So windows and doors are closed. And let's do the rest. So beacon on, thrust levers are at idle, and we'll put the transponder to auto. Good. Yeah, so beacon is on, mobile phone's off, thrust levers idle, parking brake is set. Let's call the pushback.
Cockpit to ground. This is ground. Stand by.
Moment Aviation. Thanks very much. Glad you're enjoying them. Shabam says, hello, love your videos. Learn to fly the A320 looking at your videos. First time catching a live stream. Excellent, Shabam. Thanks so much for saying so. Thanks for coming along today. Simon T says we can look forward to the 757 in Microsoft Flight Simulator in a few years, which I'm really excited about. Oh yeah, that'll be great. Aviation James says, hey, 320 Sim Pilot, are you going to get the TCA Boeing yoke by Thrustmaster? If enough people want me to do it, I will try and get hold of one. I'll have to.
Sir, the bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches closed and all ground equipment is
Slap me back and explain.
The parking brakes are set. You may lift.
Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
Excellent. Oh, and we're lifting. I like it. Yes, excellent. Right, before we go, let's sort
Standing by for pushback.
let's sort the drone out to be a nice wing view. Oh, it's a gloomy day. There we go. Love the sound effects in the A32NX. Such good audio. Right, so I guess let's release the brake.
Please set parking brakes.
Oh, no. Oh, I see. Okay, we'll turn them first. So let's announce it. So I've set this up so that the trigger on the wind wing is transmit. And it works. Unbelievable. We are going to be Wizz Air 296 today. Look at that, it's taken us 40 minutes. That's actually, I fired the flight plan for 40 minutes after the stream started, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Reset that view, there we go. Ljubljana traffic, Wizz Air 296, pushing back from stand 3 to face south. If I manage that. Right, so what do we do? Press reverse?
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
We are cleared for start and push. Parking brake set.
Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
Oh, this is very good. They've really got the audio. All these call outs are perfect.
You can start the engines in sequence.
Perfectly done.
Ljubljana traffic, EV42 Papa.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Pushing into face
So
south,
we can steer. You can use rudder to steer the target. It says also. Oh, I see. Or I could use this.
EV295 is pushing back from stand 5, facing south.
They're all going to face south. That's excellent. We've got people flying along, which I always like. So in the meantime, love it. Let's start up. Engine number. Oh, hands all over the place trying to find all the buttons. Start up engine number 2. We're doing 2 engine taxis today. Start the timer. Simultaneous pushbacks here. So let's see if I can get the turn to work.
And we'll be down in traffic, EV105, pushing back, stand 11.
Awesome. Love it. There goes engine number 2. It's always nice and cozy on these airplanes when you look out the window and see all that. Would have probably been de-iced if this airplane's been sat here for any length of time. If it flew in though and there was no snow on the way in, it could be alright. Just depends if it experienced any icing from the cold temperatures. There we go. About there. And how do I stop? Stop. There we go.
Okay, pushback completed. Please set your parking brake.
Excellent. Parking brake set.
Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft.
Ground. You may disconnect.
Okay, sir. Clear to disconnect.
Keith, thanks so much, Keith, for your $8.99 super chat. Really appreciate it. Keith says, thanks to you and the First Officer for all the great Airbus content and tuition. You're very welcome, Keith. That's incredibly generous. Thanks so much for your donation. And it's always great to hear that the content's been useful. So thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And the First Officer does as well. Right, that's all up and running. Let's start engine number 1. There's that PTU. Getting some glare there of the sun outside. But yeah, thank you, Keith. Very kind.
Ljubljana traffic, EC793 taxiing from the general aviation apron, runway 30.
Awesome. Yeah, so, yeah, possibly de-iced. 2 degrees is right on the threshold where if you've got ice on the airplane on approach for any reason, at 2 degrees in a short turnaround, you might not find it melts off. Above 3 degrees, it tends to melt off on its own. That's not a rule. That's just a complete anecdotal thing that, from in my experience, if I see the temperatures below 3, I'm more skeptical. I'm looking for proof that the ice is definitely melting. Whereas above 3, I still do the same thing, but I expect it to, unless it doesn't otherwise. So you still check, but I'm more anticipating a de-icing requirement below 2 degrees, certainly, or below 3. There we go. We've got loads of traffic today. This is great. Right, that's our engine up and running. I keep pressing the wrong one. There we go. Available. Good. Back to norm. And APU bleed off. Engine bleed on. APU off. Arm. Reset. Flaps to 1. Let's get the trim sets. 24.3. Yeah, so for the Boeing stuff, I'd need to buy it. So if enough people want to see it, then I'll do it. Certainly, and I'll be keeping my eye out for when it becomes more available. Dogs ears, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. I hope you're doing very well. Right, after start, anti-ice is on. We're not going to use the wings because they're not going to do anything on the ground here, but we are going to use the engines. ECAM status is checked. Pitch trim is 24 and rudder trim is 0. That's the upside check is complete. Yeah, so we're up to the. It's a common question. Why do we start engine 2 and 1 in that order? So let's get underway, and then we'll say. Ljubljana traffic was Air 296 taxiing to runway 30 for departure from the main terminal. Because I've totally forgotten the actual routes. We're going to go out via Papa to Golf is the hope. It's going to be a bit of a turn because otherwise we're stuck on the apron. I should have done a longer pushback, but I was thinking the traffic behind me. So let's go to parking brake release. I'm going to need to change my settings. This has not worked for me. Taxi and turn-offs, brakes released. I need to have a swap view button on the left. And here we go. Now, in conditions like this, I wouldn't do this, but you wouldn't get pushed back like this. This is my fault for pushing back, because if we try and rev up like this, look at that nose wheel. It's taking all the strain, all the thrust off the engines, and it's trying to turn the aeroplane. So it's not realistically going to work. You could find yourself just sliding forward. You might get away with it, but if there's actual snow and ice on the taxiway, no, forget it. You'd want to get pushed back so you could do it properly. So engine 2 and 1, we did engine 2 then 1 because number 2 powers the yellow hydraulic system, which gives us our parking brake. So when we come to a stop at the end of the pushback, we can set that and we have hydraulics to do it. I know that with single engine taxi, of course, we will use start engine 1 first, and then we turn on the yellow hydraulic pump to replace engine 2. But we don't do that until we've already started up anyway. So what we actually end up doing is using the hydraulic accumulator. It's fine, it's safe, it's just not how the aircraft was originally intended to be used, put it that way. Single engine taxi wasn't a thing when the Airbus was designed, so that's what it is. So it's not a big deal which one gets started first, really, but some airlines probably have their own rules about it anyway. But that is why the traditional way would be engine 2 first. But these days, because we do single engine, all sorts of different options. Right, let's run our flight controls. Oh, let's not get too distracted. Yeah, good luck. The airplane would never respond that well at these speeds on these taxiways, 14 knots. And I try and do a turn like that, you just slide all over the place. So there we go, using our little wind grip. It's not little, it's huge. Full right, full left, full down, full up, neutral, and I won't attempt to. Dear, what are these cars doing? I'm imagining the other people can't see those, so let's look out the window. Yeah, for dual engine taxi, you only need engine 1. You can't for single engine taxi, you only need engine 1. You can't single engine taxi on engine 2 because there's no way to power the other hydraulic system using a pump or anything. There's only the PTU, which is not what it was designed for. So there you go. Mike says, I've used the dev version of the fly-by-wire for some time now, but they still use the Asobo FMS since there's no more. Citizen stars should be doable. Yeah, it's the custom LNAV has just been a joy, so very happy about that. It is gloomy weather. Right, I need to rearrange my seating because I can't actually get to the rudder pedals here. There we go. Right. Mini brief then. We're going to go off of runway 30. We're going straight ahead with a 210 knot speed limit, at which point we can retract the flaps once we've accelerated after that. Got to make the 10,500 foot point. If we check in our flight plan, we can see that it thinks it will be at flight level 380 at gimmicks. So yeah, it hasn't got any VNAV working in it, clearly. Oh, please stop doing that. Right, back we go. Luckily in the white you can't see that. Yeah, so that is all set up. Flap 1 takeoff, and it's still a flex takeoff. Contaminated runway could actually be a toga takeoff, depends on your airline SOPs. Given the amount of snow, I think we're going to go toga. I think we'll just do that. Good stuff. Right, let's go max auto brake. Set that. Let's see if I can get that to work on the TCA. Give the cabin a ding dong.
510, please prepare for takeoff.
Takeoff config test. Oh, predicted wind shear. Yeah, of course. That should have come on with the weather radar. Sadly not working in this version. It does want to just veer off to the left. So it is running away. I've not used any thrust, and you can see we've reached 30 knots. So that downhill has been modelled nicely. Yeah, that's pretty much how it does it. Ljubljana is their radar. Weather radar, I imagine that one. Will you ever use differential thrust taxiing in snow? Yeah, you might want to. The downside being with differential thrust that you could just slide the nose wheel around. We'll go full length given the weather. Right, we're going to go to the next one. It's more sensitive. I don't know what's going on with the rudder. I'm going to have to change the axes a bit. So speed here, 14 knots, no good at all. That was way too fast to approach that turn. I'd have it right back for doing a 90-degree turn in the snow. There's the traffic following. So I'm just going to bring it to a stop here because we need to run our checklist. Right, before takeoff checks, flight controls are checked, flight instruments are checked, briefing confirmed, flaps config 1+F is in green and blue. FMA and takeoff data, we've got 136, 141, climb nav blue, 152, 12,000, becoming a flight level, flex 55, but we're going to go toga for this one. We've changed our mind due to the atrocious state of the runway down here. Transponder is set, we've got to put that to T, alright, there we go, and otherwise it's set. ECAM memo is takeoff no blue. Below line cabin is secured, engine mode selector. We can leave it in norm. It would. And that's an interesting one actually. In the Neos, it wouldn't be on ignition. I might be tempted to put it to ignition. Basically, never do that. But there we go. It's an unusual one. And TCAS's TR8 packs are both on. That's before takeoff checklist complete. Thank you, Oda Penguin, for the follow. Right. Any last questions? What beautiful weathers? Yeah, it is, Lawrence. Indeed. What announcements are you using for Wizz Air? The announcements are just the default A32NX ones. Ljubljana traffic, Wizz Air 296 taking off runway 30. Yeah, okay, that's not worked, so let's put that to max there. Brakes released. Strobe lights and landing lights on. Oh no, come on. Clear on the approach. Clear on the runway. One of the strange things you get with snowy runways like this is that in the landing or takeoff area here, it's quite realistic to see it like this, where it's actually more melted. The reason is airplanes are taking off, so of course, as we're about to do, they come on here and they blast it with hot jet exhaust. So you find that you get quite good braking action at this part of the runway and in the middle there. As you go down to the other end of the runway, you'll find that it's covered in ice still, and it hasn't been melted because, of course, no one's been taking off there or using it much. So if we were to reject this takeoff, it might be tempting to look at the runway here and go, oh, it's not so bad, we've probably got quite good braking action. But the reality is it could be quite different at the other end of the runway where you'd actually be trying to stop. Anyway, let's go. Time for takeoff. So, start the clock. Recenter. See if I can get my seat right. Sitting a lot further back than I used to because I've got the stick mounted below the desk now. Okay, 50% on the M1. Half side stick. Brakes released. Toga. Man Toga, SRS, runway. Order thrust is blue and armed. Quite a whiteout view out the front. Could get hard to see the Zend line here.
Ljubljana traffic with Air 295 lining up runway 30.
And there's A32NX. So it's in neutral. And here you go, more snow at this end, which would be absolutely make sense. So you can hardly see anything. V1 rotates. Positive climb, gear up. Nav. And away we go. Love the rotate law in the A32NX. Sadly, the weather's not letting us enjoy Ljubljana's insane views, but there we go. We're going to punch up through these clouds in no time. Amazing audio as well. Sim Update 7 did reset a lot of options, so perhaps also your rudder. Ah, maybe. I'll have to check that. 2 clicks back now. Oh, that's a bit more aggressive than the real aircraft. Thrust glide 5 order thrust. Wouldn't quite summon that. So that 210 knot speed limit's coming up. We're not gonna be far off it really. Might not make any difference to our day. What we can do though is set standards.
Ljubljana traffic with Air 295 is now taking off.
So you see how
runway
tempting it is
30.
here to bring the flaps in, but we know we can't actually, so we're going to let them auto retract instead. There they go.
With A320
Still hand flying for once and trying out this side stick. So around the turn, any second now, it should automatically accelerate that speed to 250, which is where you've got to watch out, because if you turn on the autopilot now, you could forget that the flaps are out if you just think everything's happened like normal. Yeah, I would have expected to already do it, to be honest. Oh no, it's got 210 at the next one as well. Ah, now that's funny. That's the Airbus does do codings like that. I can see there isn't a speed limit there, but sometimes it will code it to the next point, even if that's not quite true. So let's set it to 230 just so we can clean up. So it's going to lower the nose. Accelerating, flaps to 0. Autopilot 1. Flaps are in, so we'll turn off the nose gear lights, disarm the ground spoilers, and I'm going to get rid of the engine anti-ice because we're done with it. Above the clouds, and here's the Alps we're about to head over. Yeah, and we'll get rid of that ignition. Schwig says, I thought we left it in ignition a couple of flights back in the Toliss 321. It's possible. So the ignition is used if you want to have the ignition mode running in the engines where they continuously ignite. In the old aircraft, when you put flaps out, that would happen anyway. Sorry, when you put engine anti-ice on, that would happen anyway. It doesn't happen in the NEOs. So that's why I said it's unusual, because the times you would need it in the old aircraft, you'd nearly always be in icing conditions.
Traffic, EV42 Papa departing runway 30, Ljubljana traffic.
But in the NEO, it won't turn it on for you. You need to do it yourself. So that's possibly it. Sorry, that is it. That's why I'm saying it's weird.
Ljubljana traffic, EV793 lining up runway 30 behind the departing A320.
Let's speed up, sir. Right, I'm confused. I'm way behind on chat. Ah, I'm so sorry. I'd let the chat scroll way past. Okay, that's terrible. So there's 1,000 feet to go. We'll just level off at 120. When did I say I had a beta piece of hardware? And you guys have spotted the auto brake. I do not know of any devices for nose wheel steering tiller, Pavel. That's a good question. That would be good. And yeah, people were not sure what people were saying about the auto brake. Yeah, what betas for hardware? What have I said? I'm sure I've just said something wrong. We're getting some questions
Ljubljana traffic, EZ793 departing runway 30.
about predicted wind shear. So let's go up to our cruise. So today 380 for the cruise. Otherwise we'll be overtaken by all our friends and colleagues. So 380 managed, thrust come open climb, out blue 380. Everything else is in managed. Above 10,000 feet, let's get rid of the landing lights. And I can sweep up the mess I've made by presumably saying something incorrect, which wouldn't surprise me. Good, let's go to airports. Quick check of the fuel, 510 fuel used, which makes up about 8.4, so that makes sense. No major leaks. Yeah, there was some good scenery behind the clouds. It's a shame. There we go. I just love this livery. It looks great in the snow as well. It really works, and it's got lots of light. Can the aircraft get rime ice? Yeah, absolutely. On the leading edges where you build up some rime ice. Have I not filed a flight plan on that sim? Sorry. Now it's there. Lucas, okay, we're getting a lot of talk about predictive wind shear and weather radar, so I'm going to try and do a little brief on those. The predictive wind shear and weather radar are two different functions. They use the radar. Predictive wind shear using the radar, it looks at water patterns in the air, and if it sees big changes, then it thinks there's wind shear going on there. It can't see it in dry air, it needs water, so it's using the same radar, same idea. The reason there's two separate switches is because if you have the predictive wind shear switch to auto and you start up an engine, then the predictive wind shear function will work. Okay, it'll already be scanning. So that's why we have to turn it off after landing, because it will make the radar run, even if you've got the weather radar turned off. So I can turn the weather radar off, but predictive wind shear would continue to work, and you see it doesn't give us a warning that it's off because it's running. So that's why there's two separate switches for it. I'm not a fan of the size of these switches or their use. I don't think they're very clear on this style of radar panel. But yeah, so they are two separate things, but they do their own different projects. Would snowy conditions have an impact on the V1 speed, especially on shorter runways? Yes, on shorter runways, the V1 speed is most likely, if you have snow or any sort of contamination on the runway that makes stopping harder, that will obviously reduce your V1 speed. It'll make it happen quicker because you'll need more room to stop. So you're more likely to be forced into continuing the takeoff. Danny Rubles has tipped $3. Thanks so much, Danny. Danny says, hello boss, it's been a minute. I was wondering if you also fly the 321 sometimes, because I was flying the 321 NX plane and fuel on board below 3 tons on ECAM memo, and I've never seen it in 320 or something. You know why it popped up only on 321. Thank you, Danny, for the donation. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you. And yes, that message, the fuel on board below 3 tons, it comes up on the ECAM in the same way out of fuel transfer does. The reason we have that message in the 21s is to warn you that your fuel is a bit lower. I know you don't get it in the 19s or 20s. Going below 3 tons is not a shocking thing by any means. These days it's very common. You wouldn't land with 3 tons normally. You'd land with less. Again, I'm not criticizing anybody who does land with more than 3 tons. I'm just saying that's just typical, the way the fuel's worked out. But when the 321 came out, of course, it does burn more fuel. The engines, although being the same, are rated to higher amounts. 12627. They're rated to higher amounts, so they burn more fuel. And the aircraft's heavier, so they have to work harder. So you can see why Airbus would be concerned, and I don't have any evidence this is exactly what they're thinking, but this is my guess, which is that they'd be concerned because we've got a situation where you could have flown the 319 and then the 321, and your situational awareness of how much time and fuel you've got left could be confused if you aren't reminded that actually you've got less fuel than you think because you're in a heavy aeroplane. That's the point of it, as far as I can tell.
Squawk 4057, climb 380.
Anyway, let's check in.
Squawk 5057 and climb flight level 380, easy 295.
Evening, Doc Retro. Was there? Good to see you.
Good evening, Easy 42.
Was there's got the TCA desk maps,
with you
excellent.
at flight level 140 inbound gimmicks.
No, there's no VNAV in this. Not that I've seen. I have indeed flown into the airports in Milan.
Easy for Papa, Wien Servus, radar
Marcel says, I don't often fly 2D. How are you getting around the cockpit? Head tracking or mouse? So I'm using a combination of the mouse.
Climb flight level 380, Easy 42.
I use the shortcut Control 5 to go to the MCDU. And I've got the hat switch on top of my side stick, which lets me just sort of scroll around. And then I can click that in to reset it. Previously, I've always used the trigger to reset the view, but I'm trying to use the trigger now to transmit, which is obviously more realistic, which is the point of this sort of wing grip. I mean, yeah, there's nothing else like it on the market that looks and feels so much like the Airbus side stick. Right, where are we going? We're going to Detza. Control, good evening. Wizz Air 296, climbing flight level 380 to Detza.
Wizz Air 296, Wien Servus, radar contact, squawk 4043, climb 380.
Climb flight level 380, squawk 4043, Wizz Air 296. Excellent, we're already going up to 380. Squawk 4043. 4043. Away we go. Yes, so that's why there's that message. With the fuel on board more than 3 tons for Danny Rubel for that question. L. Smith says, can't believe Jet 2 have ordered Airbus. Could UK 737s be coming to an end? Yeah. They've got a big 737 fleet though, don't they, Jet 2? So I'd be surprised if it goes all that way. George's FS video says, my yoke, throttle and rudder pedals just arrived. Yay, excellent. Enjoy those. Yaroslav says, question, are you allowed to turn on fuel pumps before fueling is complete? Yes, you are. Most people turn them on late in the process though, usually when you're already fueled up. To be honest with you, that's where it more normally happens.
Wien radar, easy 793, passing flight level 1504350.
Easy 7.
Shug says, have you ever needed a booster seat in any plane you've flown? Me personally, no. Thanks, James. Yeah, if you are enjoying the video, do please hit the like button. It makes a big difference to the channel. Victor Tango, thanks so much for your $33.26 donation. Really kind, Victor Tango. And thank you for all your work on the Discord and here, of course.
Radar contact.
Victor Tango says, glad to have you back, Captain. We missed you. That's very kind, Victor Tango. Thanks so much. And it's great. I've been looking forward to this so much. Beautiful view out there. So yeah, thanks so much for that incredibly generous donation, Victor Tango. Really appreciate it. Very kind. And I hope you're doing very well. And like I say, thanks for taking all the time you do on the Discord and here. Michael Denson, good to see you. Thanks for coming along.
Austrian 992 radar contact, Nixie 1 Whiskey arrival, climb level 1.
Waffle says, when do you think Asobo will fix the API with the weather radar? I don't know. Shubham says, do you use Autoland even if the weather visibility is clear? No. No, unless you're testing it or you're practicing it. Generally not. Last says, difference between transition altitude and transition level. Transition level is for the way down, transition altitude is for the way up. So you're on altitude, which means you're using QNH. You'll use that until you pass the transition altitude in the climb. In the descent, the transition level is the last level where you'll be on standard 1013. And as you go below, or 2992 in the States, and as you go below it, you'll swap to QNH. That is going to have to be a whole video though, because I get asked it a lot, so I do apologise I haven't made that yet, but that's something I need to do. Thanks again, Victor Tango, really kind. Thanks for those follows and the subscription, Lewis. Johan, good to see you. I hope you're doing very well. Yeah, no, I'm afraid I just don't know when the API because I want to see. So I don't know how many of you saw my most recent video, which was 9 days ago, which is a long time actually for this channel. But yeah, the last video I put up on the channel was the Turtle Beach Velocity Flight 1, and
with the 296 direct Safa Sierra Alpha Foxtrot Foxtrot Alpha.
direct to Safa was Air 296. Oh, I like having the trigger. That is nice. There's Safa. There we go. Nav to Safa. Ah, I've totally forgotten what I was saying. That's good, isn't it? I was saying something about the video. Anyway, yeah, I did that video on the Turtle Beach. Why is that relevant now? I don't know. Oh yes, I do remember. The Turtle Beach has a caution warning panel on it, which I really like. Sadly, it doesn't work yet. They're waiting for Microsoft to implement the things they need. So that's what that's another thing I'm waiting for Asobo to provide. Replay mode. I want that caution warning panel working. This is just a list of my personal wants. Not. I know this isn't industry wide, so yeah, I don't know how quickly they'll happen. And then weather radar would be very good. Yeah, absolutely. New fix info page, says Giovannino. Yeah, how do you manage the fix info page? Right, okay, I've got a video ready for that, and that will go up very soon. Yeah, and we'll use it in the descent today. So if you stay tuned on the stream, I'll show you, but I do have a video coming within the next couple of days on that. Should have already been out. I do apologise, things just got much busier than I expected. There is a replay mode, but you need dev mode. No way. I did not know that. See, there's loads I've been missing out. Guys, do I need to use DirectX 12 or 11? I'm on 11 today. Oh, it was 11 before, right? So I don't change things.
With the 295 direct
unless I have to.
Sierra Alpha Foxtrot Foxtrot.
Oh, 295 is following us. Excellent. GD, thanks so much for your $6.65 tip. Really appreciate it, GD.
With 295, thank you.
Very kind. I hope you're doing very well. Thanks so much. Thanks for supporting us and coming on again. Everyone's saying stay on DirectX 11. Okay, good. I made the right call. Fly-by-wire recommends 11. Okay, perfect. Answered, and I got it the right the right guess. I remember the old days. FSX had a DirectX.
With the 296 for now, Unicom 1228. Bye bye.
1228 was 296. Thanks. Goodbye. Yeah, I remember the old days. Was it DirectX 9 with 10 experimental in FSX? We've been raided with the party for 187 by the flying Fabio. We didn't actually, we didn't know what raiding was until, well, we've been very confused by it the few times we had it. So thank you all for coming along with the flying Fabio. That's this is a Twitch thing. That's for those of you on YouTube. Raiding is where you bring all your audience into another group. So thank you all for coming along. I'll treat you to a nice view of the Wizz Air flying over the Alps. Should have some contrails. Oh, we do have some contrails. There we go. Lovely. Yeah, airplanes always look good in the snow because they get lit from beneath. It always works really nicely. It makes some great photos. Thank you for those follows on Twitch. Really, really appreciate it. It was DirectX 9 for FSX this week. Hello, Goblin. Raid. Yeah, well, we had this happen once before and we didn't know what was going on. So we were a little unsure. Brian says, ETA for the landing. I'm watching on a lunch break. It's a little way away, I'm afraid. At the moment, the overlay thinks 1936. So what's that? It's about an hour and a half, which I'd say is probably pretty sensible, pretty close to what's going on. Thanks for those follows, Richard, Goblin, Scob, Bry. We'll have to return the favour to Flying Fabio one day. Peter 4, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. There we go. That is some serious turbulence. So someone was asking earlier, is this turbulence realistic? Do we expect to see things? I mean, I bet the wings are probably flapping around as well. No, it's not this severe. I mean, well, that view's all right. The wings do bend a bit in the turbulence like that, but more to the point, this performance drops where the airplane suddenly levels off. It can level off, not as aggressively as it's doing. This would be considered almost severe turbulence. Thanks, Barmer, for the follow. Thanks, flying with Nathan. Really appreciate it. I hope you're doing very well. DirectX 12 will be better eventually, but not right now. Excellent. Okay, yeah, we'll keep waiting for it. Santiago Vargas, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. So the so leveling off, it does happen. Let's check our progress page. What's our recommended max? 390. We're going to 38. Optimum's 39, so it should have no performance issues here. Let's put in Luton as our destination. I do love this page. 570 miles to go. It's going to take us a bit of time to get there. Thanks to Bahrain for the follow and Barmer01. But we know Microsoft Flight Simulator has this great interaction with the air and the ground to give turbulence, which is just great, and I'm glad we've got it, but it can be a little oversensitive with the Alps. It tends to be quite aggressive with those. CRT George, thanks for following. James Cooper says 12 is a beta work in progress. It's a future bloomer. At the moment it tanks performance. Interesting. Okay. Infinite Flight Man, thanks for the subscription. Yeah, okay. Interesting. So what was it? Is anyone... sorry if I missed it in the chat. I said... Someone seemed to think I was talking about beta hardware earlier, and I don't know what I was talking about there. I have not tried the CRJ 1000, Santiago. I did hear about it, though. So I will be interested to give that one a go. Is it good? Are people enjoying it? I'm sure it is, because I'm a big fan of the CRJ that we have in Microsoft Flight Simulator anyway. The Flying Fabio says, alright everyone, I'm going to get going. Great to see you guys today, and nice stream 320 Sim Pilot. Glad to meet you. Love you guys. The Flying Fabio, thank you so much for coming along and bringing your audience. And yeah, great to see you. Have a good night. I'm assuming the Flying Fabio has just ended a stream, which is always a tiring part of the day, so enjoy your rest, and thanks for coming along. Fabio is flying the CRJ frequently. I also like it, says SeaWorld. There we go. Pretty much like the 700 to Santiago. Yeah, okay, but we always like the heavier versions of airplanes. So, you know, the 321 is most people's favourite of the short-haul Airbuses, so I imagine the CRJ 1000 is probably the favourite. Having said that, the Q400 was not the favourite Dash 8 by most pilots I spoke to who flew the 300 and 200 also. The Q400 was considered a bit of a different beast compared to the Q300, which people really, really liked. Simon C says the CRJ 9 and X is really nice. Pencil plane operations are always fun. Yeah, pencil plane, it is like that, yeah. And we like our 757, the other pencil plane. Here's our 1,000 feet to go. We're finally getting there. It is taking a bit of time. Oh, we didn't start our clock. Oh, that's annoying. Normally the other pilot, that's the excuse. Always the excuse. Roy's come in with the controversial opinion that the A318 is the best of the 320 family. Oof. You won't find many pilots who've flown the 318. Relatively rare. So it might be. It might be. Max Epic says, hi, how are you? I'm very good. Val says, hi, I'm from Slovenia. Excellent. We just left Slovenia. Beautiful, beautiful country. And we had great fun looking at the new scenery from Scenic Routes. Oh, it sounds like people have had some trouble with the autopilot. Come on, airplane, you can do it. You can do it. This is always... I'm not, you know, climbing is not my favourite part of the flight. The first bit's nice when you're sort of up to sort of 15,000 feet. You've got very good climb performance and you're sort of rocketing away from the ground and everything calms down compared to the busyness of being low down and taxiing out and taking off. But when you're up here, it just drags on forever. There we go, Mac up star. So if you're doing sort of 4 flights in a day, by the time you're climbing the 4th time, it feels like a really slow process. Out cruise. Let's put the TCAS 2 below. Let's do a systems check. Yeah, so this is an unrealistic amount of oil. You wouldn't have 24.3 quarts of oil. If you did, it would be bubbling over, I'm sure, but there we go. Everything else looking reasonable. Landing elevation 500 feet, because Luton is, of course, on a hill. Electronics are all working as they should be. Willenberg, thanks for the follow, and flight sim 7700. Excellent. Perfect. 1.5, 6.8. So we added on, so that'd be 7.8 plus another 500 would be 8.3, which is about what we set off with. So no obvious fuel leak from that side of things. 24 degrees, nice and warm, but we'll have to cool it down. Wheels are still very cold. They, as I said, they probably would have heated up a bit on that taxi out due to the length of it, which is not a bad thing in conditions like that. Having warm brakes to keep those wheels clear of ice, or the brake disc clear of ice anyway, not a bad idea. What was I going to do up here? I had something to do. Why did I look on the overhead panel? Oh yeah, temperature, there we go. Turn it down in the cabin. We'll keep it nice and warm for ourselves up at the front though, for sure. Dougal! Good to see you, Dougal. Dougal says, fancy seeing my GA VFR friends in here. Welcome to the dark side. There you go. We've got a few general aviation heavy following along. This way you get to sit in the cruise and do nothing for a couple of hours, except get shaken around. It's so frustrating. You never appreciate smooth air until you don't have it. You don't sit there going, oh, it's so good how smooth it is today. But as soon as it's turbulent, you wish for nothing more than just a bit of smooth air. Not because it's scary, not because it's a problem, but just because it's just frustrating. You can't write anything, you can't have hot drinks, you can't eat. Oh, what have we done on the switching panel? Let's put that back. There we go. Lauren B25 says, and thanks for coming to moderate as well, Lauren. Lauren says, the A318 is part of the regular Air France short haul. There you go. So, I don't talk about who I work for, but you can probably guess I don't work for Air France. So I'm not lucky enough to fly around the 318 regularly. Lima, thanks for the follow, and Icebird, and Tang, thanks for the subscription. Nikki says hello from the Netherlands. I hope you're doing well. Did you actually leave Slovenia though? Yeah, that's a good point. Let's have a look on our chart. After gimmicks, we entered Austrian. So yeah, we did. We have made it that far. Thanks, Makazi, for the follow. And Boy Bori. Domestic says, I'm struggling to get to 360. So when it's turbulent, it does get harder. We won't actually cruise as high when it's turbulent like this. So you can see the as we approach Coffin Corner. So this overspeed limit will keep reducing, and the low speed limit will keep increasing. And this gap will get smaller and smaller. If we went up to 390, it would be smaller. If we descended down to 370, it would get bigger. So what happens is, if we know it's going to be turbulent, we won't go as high to our recommended maximum. So the recommended maximum today is 390. We're only 1,000 feet beneath that, because, as you can see, this is quite a small gap. So if air traffic now said to us, are you happy to go up to 390? Basically, everyone would say no. And part of the problem is the turbulence. If it's going to be guaranteed smooth air, then it may be possible, not such an issue. Especially if this said, for example, recommended max 394, then okay, 400 feet difference. But if it's smooth, you can do it because it's the recommended maximum. There's enough limits, there's enough differences in the speeds to make it safe. But in turbulent air, we won't like it because we'll have to sit there, not worrying, but constantly checking on the speed, maybe having to intervene every now and then, and that gets tiring, and it's just not really a good way to operate. So yeah, in the turbulent air, we'll try and stay lower, give ourselves more room. But if we can find out that the smoother air is higher or lower, of course, we'll head to that. Boy Boris says, first time watching you on Twitch, normally watch on YouTube. By the way, your mug is amazing. I'm glad you like the mug, Boy Boris. So we do have the mug available as our merchandise, so thanks very much for saying so. Yeah, do click over below and you'll see the merchandise available. It's I really like it. I've got one at home. I like it, and I know people who've got it like it. So yeah, let me do the usual thing. Go on, let's pin that one. I think it came out really well, and that's artwork on that's a tail fin on the back is designed specifically for it. But yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for coming along, and thanks for saying so. Liam Killer Mike says, love your videos. Finally, I catch a live stream. Excellent. Thanks for coming along. Glad you enjoy the videos. My bro already has one. Excellent. Yeah. Benny says, are you back flying in real life? Yes, indeed. Indeed. I'm hoping that doesn't change anytime soon. Fingers crossed. Alright, reading over Safa. Up towards Hockwell. Should smooth out. The wind's coming. So Microsoft Flight Simulator is quite predictable. We've got a wind coming from the north. We had a headwind. So as we head over the Alps, it's that we're currently downwind of these mountains. As we get closer to the northern ridge, this should all calm down. And you can see it's already improving. So now would be the time. We would have probably had the belts on actually, but yeah, now would be the time you can get your tray table out. Does that work yet? No, sadly not. I like this texturing back here. These pedals, that's pretty accurate. It's all sort of insulation-y and all sorts of stuff down there. Oh no, the mouse disappeared. There we go. That's a frustrating one. Thanks, Tainted Archer, for the follow, and 6504K. Makazi, I think we said Makazi already. James would like to see a zip-up hoodie. Okay, interesting. We do have a hoodie, but a zip-up one. We'll have a look at that. Should really come up with some new merch. I think that merch has been out for a while now. But I do quite like it. Ethan Reed, hello to you. Oh, there we go. So it begins again. Chickpoint also the fan of the zip-up hoodie. Excellent. So in terms of future plans, we've got obviously the fix info video. We've got another a difficult approach video coming. I know I said that last time. We've also got the fix info video, for those of you who might not know about it yet. It's a video about using that fix info page. This has been added to the A32NX, but obviously works for any sim you're using. In terms of live streams, I'm planning to do a stream with the Junkers 52 very soon. That'll be on Twitch only. So do follow on Twitch if you'd like to see that. The reason is that's going to be very much a casual VFR, hopping around, just trying it out sort of thing. And I'm going to plan to use the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 for that, to try it out with a yoke aircraft, as it were. Might try and use that Velocity 1 for the DC-6 as well, actually. That could be quite fun. Proper yoke. I've been having fun sort of thinking of different ways to do it. So yeah, those are all to come. I haven't tried the Reno air races yet. Has any of you tried them? Ethan Reed, Twitch name is 320 Sim Pilot. I think it's all one word. Link is in the Discord. Yash says, started my A320 type rating in real life. Got any advice? Have fun with it, Yash. It's a fantastic aeroplane, in my opinion. And just take it step by step. I don't have any specific advice, but it's I'm sure your instructors will guide you through it. They'll know exactly which bits are going to help you out. But it's even from when you start a type rating, for those of you who haven't done one, you start off with a type rating is the most intense sort of study you can do as a pilot. Pilots, we don't have to study too much during our normal working lives. When we just come to work, fly the airplane, go home, we will look stuff up and we'll refresh our memories of things that we don't use very often, especially sort of bad weather, stuff like that, snow, contaminated runways. But a type rating is a different beast. A type rating is like going back to school. You have every single day, you get back from classes effectively, and then you're studying, practicing, studying right up until you go to bed, and you'll do that for about a month at least. So they are intense, but they're not very long. And when I did the type rating for the Airbus, I really enjoyed it, because it was just so much fun to learn about this aeroplane and how different it is in some respects. As I said before, it's not as different, I think, as it's generally perceived to be. In the sense that it is still just an airplane. It does work like an airplane. It's got trim if you need it. It's just got loads and loads of nice features, and I had a great time learning about it and learning the principles behind it, which is why I ultimately ended up making these videos on this channel, because my enthusiasm for the Airbus sort of just I have no trouble talking about it, put it that way, which is why I make the videos, because I find it interesting and I enjoy it, and I think it's a real marvel of engineering. Don't know how I got to that point. Oh yeah, we're talking about the type rating. Yeah, good. I'm totally out of practice of these streams. If you have come along and this is your first time, I really appreciate a like on the YouTube stream if you're watching there. But I see we have a lot of people on Twitch, so thank you to those new followers on Twitch. Really, really appreciate it. Mr. Treeman says, on the MCDU, N, W, S and E are highlighted. I assume this is north, south, west. Exactly, it is. So if you're entering coordinates, they are easily accessible. There they are, north, south, east and west. Lauren says, Reno is a paid add-on, haven't showed up for it. Okay. Yeah, no, me either. CRT George, yeah, indeed, the turbulence is terrible today. I think, as I said, I think it will get better soon as we get past these Alps. 60 knots of wind is pretty reasonable coming over the hills. Again, the Alps in real life don't seem to cause... I don't find them to cause as much turbulence as Microsoft Flight Simulator thinks they do. Are there procedures you use to climb to cruise level faster? No, if you need to climb up faster, green dot's your best bet, but rare to need to. Thanks for the follow to Miss Stas. I do struggle with Twitch names. Gabriel says, hi there, did you experience a bug post sim update 5 in which controls freeze for some seconds while taxiing, mostly brakes and rudder? Seems plenty of people have it and I can't fix it. Ooh, I'd like to use that as an excuse for my taxiing earlier, so yes, maybe, but I can't be sure on that, so probably not to be fair, but yeah, that would be a good excuse. Ebos, thanks so much for your $11.32 donation. Really appreciate it, Ebos. Ebos says, thanks for the flight. Always a pleasure listening to you, interacting with the chat. Thank you so much, Ebos. Really, really appreciate it. Very kind. Thanks so much for the donation. And thanks for supporting the channel and coming along. Ebos has been coming along for a long time. So, yeah, really kind. Thanks so much. Boy Bromman, thanks for your subscription. And Ebos, it's always my pleasure to interact with the chat. It's I've done a few videos lately. I haven't streamed for a little while, and it's definitely I really do enjoy the streams because of it. It just becomes my own little radio show. Bernie says, how accurate is dev at the moment? What is the thing you'd want to add soon? So LNAV was my biggest concern for the longest of time, and now they've solved that. I hear holds are coming soon. I mean, they've always been in here, but they haven't actually worked yet. Yeah, so they got rid of that page now, but not too fussed about holds. You don't get held very often on VATSIM. What do I want to see from it next? It's a tricky one because it's behaved so well. I suppose we're looking at some more systems modelling. For example, does that work? Yeah, so it does the clunk noise, which is good, but it doesn't give you any ECAMs or anything. But that's a huge ask. That is massive. The detail required to build up an ECAM system is huge. So not really expecting that. I suppose VNAV, yeah, managed descents. But I'm not too worried about VNAV for descending from the cruise. I want VNAV because I want to be able to fly RNAV approaches in final lap. I want final lap mode to work. So that'd be my want. I know everyone's been asking for VNAV forever. So I don't want to say I want VNAV, but I do want final lap to work. There we go. How about that? Hope that's not too irritating for the devs if they hear that. Thanks for following, Gib and Zephyr Wave. But I know that VNAV ultimately ties in with final lap, and that's why we haven't got it yet. Jacko says, what is the most holds circuits you have ever done in real life? And that's in -11 last night into Zurich. And the fly-by-wire doesn't support them yet. That's pretty impressive. 11, if we're looking at 4 minutes per hold, That is a serious amount of time. You did 44 minutes of holding. That wouldn't be much fun. Have I held for 44 minutes? Yeah, I have. I've held for an hour, I'm pretty sure, before. Usually that situation arises when there's been a problem, or the weather. It'll primarily be the weather. So if it was purely for traffic, I can't think of anywhere where I would take 45 minutes worth of holding fuel just for traffic. Actually, I can, but I won't mention it. Some places are a little less predictable than others, put it that way. Whereas with the weather, you might take 2 tons of holding fuel because you want to get there and just hold and wait to get in, and you need to have that fuel so that you don't have to divert in the meantime while you're waiting. So let's say you're going to a destination and it's just predicted to potentially fog out, so you just take loads of fuel, and then if you need to use it. So I've done that. One of them ended in a diversion. We held, what did we do? We held for a certain amount of time, tried to make an approach, but there was an approach ban in force, which is a whole other LVP topic, so we couldn't continue the approach, so we went around. Then we held for a bit longer. The weather started to improve, and this is fog I'm talking about here, not thunderstorms. Thunderstorms don't tend to last that long, maybe half an hour. It depends where they are in the approach, but you can usually get around them unless one sits overhead the airfield. But fog settles in for a long time, and more of a problem is if fog settles in the evening, it might not improve. But yeah, and then we ended up trying again, didn't work, diverted. It's unusual to try and make more than 2 approaches unless there's a significant reason it's going to get better. Jacko says, yes, it was closer to an hour. I got some good practice. Yeah, that would have been good practice indeed. Marcel says, I use Logitech Pro rudder pedals. Do you think it's worth the money to upgrade to the Whirlpool pedals? I use the Logitech Pro, so I don't know, I'm afraid. I haven't upgraded from these. I think these are good. I like Logitech pedals. I think they're my favourite of their sort of price bracket from the ones I've used anyway. Gibb says, we flew to the Maldives 3 weeks ago and had a 45-minute hold. Weather was fine, just a lot of traffic. Very nice place to go, the Maldives, no doubt. We've done it a couple of times on the channel. Very jealous. Yeah, it can happen. So the Maldives, perhaps with its one runway, but crucially, the Maldives has it doesn't have many taxiways off the runway, so traffic will have to backtrack, as we found out, and it does cause major traffic jams if everyone arrives at once, as we had when we left the Maldives on stream. So yeah, I can believe that. What does VNAV do in real life? Does it do perfect descents? No, not perfect, but very good attempts. So if I'm flying an arrival that has lots of different restrictions on it, so none of these points will, but if it said, flight level 200, flight level 190, flight level 140 and below, etc., with speed limits as well, that's where VNAV is just great. It's not called VNAV, obviously, in the Airbus, it's called managed descent, and that's when I'd use it, because it can do all of those restrictions better than me. I mean, I can do it myself with vertical speed or open descents at the right moments, but managed descent will just work great, and it will do it in pretty much the most efficient way possible. But you do have to be careful, because even in VNAV, if you then turn on like the engine anti-ice, which increases the idle point of the engines, so they won't be running at such a low speed even when you have them commanding idle, you'll find that you're not going to make the restrictions anymore. The airplane will be a bit high and you have to use the speed brakes. I don't tend to use VNAV on the final stages of the approach, because I find it can be a little bit sporty. So it doesn't take much to make it too high. Now, being a slightly high at 20,000 feet isn't really an issue, but being slightly high when you're about to start a non-precision approach is an issue. So that's the times I would be intervening. So the last sort of 15 miles of the approach, I'd probably not be using managed descent, unless, of course, we're using it for the actual final approach in final lap mode. Mike's Basement says, I'm sorry if I'm repeating something here. No problem, Mike. I missed loads of things in the chat. But was the pushback window an add-on? No, so this is called... Here you go. It's created by ambitious pilots. It's on flightsim.to. It's called Pushback Toolbar Pushback. And this is an add-on. It's very easy to install. It just went into my community folder. It's excellent, very good. I like it a lot because you can steer with your feet. Roy says VS to finesse on final. Exactly, yeah. That's usually I end up in VS mode. Open is a bit sort of agricultural when you're trying to fly the final stages of the approach. Yeah, Mateus is pointing out that the possible rudder freezes and so on could be from right-clicking, which is a problem I have as well. Because if I'm using the mouse to change the view, I use the right mouse button and I do this. And then if I try and adjust the controls with my hardware, it doesn't work. And I've had that catch me out on taxi before. I have tried the 737 in X-Plane 11. On the channel, we've flown both the Zibo mod 737-800 and we've flown the 737-200. I want to fly the 737-200 again, but I need to fly Concorde first. I'll be in trouble if I go onto X-Plane without flying Concorde soon. Can you start descent without ATC clearance, and how far away are you supposed to contact approach when there is no sensor? Those are VATSIM specific. If there's no ATC, you can start descent. If there is ATC, then definitely not. In real life, we would never start descent without ATC clearance. Sim Captain, good to see you. Sim Captain says, I hope you're doing well. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 or X-Plane 11. I'm afraid I can't be answering that one. I genuinely don't have a strong preference either way. When I fly some of the best add-ons in X-Plane 11, I absolutely love it. And likewise, when I fly some of the best add-ons in Microsoft Flight Simulator, I love it as well. So, Igloo Foo says, I wish the arrow worked in VS mode. The banana in the CRJ has become a crutch. Yeah, so Igloo's talking about the fact that if you set a vertical speed in the Airbus, the real one, it will show your level off arrow where you're going to level off, which is very useful. So if they said B level, flight level 350 at Luxor, then I could just set the vertical speed until it points to it, basically. Yeah, that is a nice feature. Sorry about that. MN Aviator says, do you think it's a hard transition from being completely Airbus to Boeing or vice versa? Depends. Depends how long you've been flying one, I suppose. The Airbus, like I say, when I did the type rating, was a lot to learn. If I end up flying a Boeing, I'll tell you. What's the primary reason not to cruise at green dot speed? Is it time? Good question. Green dot in real life tends to be a little bit closer to this VLS, so it's too slow for that. If you have Costin X0, let's see if it makes a difference yet. Not quite. So in the real aircraft, obviously, that would make quite a big difference. If you put in Costin X0 and you have a tailwind, you'll find that the managed speed in the cruise would probably be around green dot, especially in NEO aircraft. So we do sometimes cruise close to green dot. People don't tend to like it because it feels a little uncomfortable. The nose goes quite high. But time would be the primary issue. Doc Retro says Costin X doesn't work. There you go. Yeah. So why don't we cruise at green dot all the time? Well, green dot might be the most efficient for fuel, but it's not necessarily the most efficient for aircraft wear and schedule and all other things. So it's only if you have a tailwind and Costin X0 do you actually have a managed speed at green dot. Because it's fine that you're burning less fuel, but if you spend another 20 minutes in the air, that's 20 minutes more oil burn, hydraulic wear, engine wear, everything else. So that tends to be why. So actually cruising around at our slowest speed is not that very common, unless, like I say, strong tailwind. thanks so much for those follows and subscriptions. And Yash, thank you for the $3.99 AED super chat. Really appreciate it. Yes, it's very kind. Thanks for coming along, and I hope you're doing very well. And that is a gold star. Thank you very much, Yash. I hope you're doing very well, and thanks so much for the very kind donation. Really appreciate it. Scenic Routes. Scenic Routes, thanks so much for the 50 Canadian dollars super chat. Really appreciate it. Scenic Routes says, thank you to Chinese Sim Pilot for showcasing our airport. Hope you and your viewers enjoy it as much as we love making it. Keep up the amazing content. It's very kind of you, Scenic Routes. Thanks so much for the donation. And I did say at the start, obviously I tagged this video as a include paid promotion, just because the enthusiasm that Scenic Routes showed for their product, I couldn't resist going along with it. So that's why we showed a few of the features early on. But thanks so much for that kind donation. Really appreciate it, Scenic Routes. And thanks for putting the effort in, and thanks for making that scenery, because it's a very good one. And somebody in the chat was saying that they had it, and they're very pleased with it. And I'm sure we'll fly into Ljubljana again at some point on the channel. But that's very kind. Thanks so much. Doc Retro says, have to go again. Have a nice flight and great landing. Greetings to FO. I'll pass on your greetings. Thanks, Doc Retro. And we'll see you next time. Lauren Reed says, 20 minutes of fuel could well be more than this saved fuel by going slightly slower. Yeah, exactly. Why did Airbus change MDA and DH to Barrett and radio on the NEO? Are those used any different compared to the CEO? Same function, different name. I don't know why they changed it. No, good question. No. Roy says 777 Sim Pilot foreshadowing. Yeah, I highly doubt that anytime soon, but maybe one day. Simon says, what's gravity gear extension? When do you use it? So gravity gear extension, this handle here, does it work?
Currently entering into the traffic via November. We'll notify traffic when passing November.
Not sure what we're hearing there. Yeah, so gravity gear extension, this is used only in emergencies, and it does exactly what it says on the tin, gravity gear extension. So obviously our wheels are tucked up and away, and they're held up with all sorts of things. But if we lose all hydraulic systems, that is normally what we use to lower the gear. So they use hydraulic pressure to raise them and lower them. If the hydraulics are not working, then we can't use it to lower the gear. We have the backup system, which is just letting gravity do it. What we do for that is we basically unlock the gear, unlock the mechanical locks, and unlock the doors, which will fall open. And then the gear will then unlock and drop down, and the gravity will go dunk and hold it into place. The gear is very heavy, remember, big stuff, and it should lock itself on its own. So on approach, in some failure conditions, particularly hydraulic related, you will use a gravity gear extension. But there are some other quirks about that. Yeah, that's what it's there for. It's so easy. I don't know if any of you have seen my streams on the Q4 XP. I've got more content coming with the Q400 for sure. I'm going to definitely be making some videos of that and streams. But anyway, that one, to do the gravity gear extension, contains like 3 different doors, panels on the overhead, panels down here, hand pumps that you've got to use. And you're doing all of that to try and lock the gear in place. This Airbus, when I came onto it, I couldn't believe it. You just lift the handle up and turn it 3 times, and the gear drops and locks in place. It's just magic. Of course, one thing to remember is you cannot bring it back up again. It's not possible. The gear's down and locked, and that's it. So don't try and reset it. Even if, let's say you did that with the hydraulics working, and you thought, oh, I'll just raise the gear now. No, not allowed. You'll be able to tell an airplane's used its gravity gear extension if you see an airplane taxiing along with all the gear doors open. So the main body doors hanging down as well, and the nose gear, the front doors hanging down. that'll be a sign that they've used gravity, because it doesn't close the doors. Just some more trivia for you. Ethan, the APU provides another generator for electricity and another source of bleed air if we need it. TCAS standby message, Jose. If you're getting that, it's because you have this set to standby. There it is. TCAS standby. And so they've actually got the ECAM modelled. I like that. Nav TCAS standby. So you need to move this little switch on the far right. Let's move over to it properly. So move this to TARA. There you go. And that's it. Stands for Traffic Advisory, Resolution Advisory. What it does is it shouts at us if we get close to an airplane, and it tells us how to avoid them if we get even closer. Doesn't work, I don't think, in this at the moment. Or does it? Maybe I'm talking nonsense there. Grandmaster, thanks for subscribing. Lubikes, I can't demonstrate the weather radar sadly, as it just doesn't work at the moment. The animator says, what's up? Flying Madrid to Zurich right now. How's the flight? We're having good fun. Thanks, Dean, and enjoy your flight to Zurich. Could be some wintry conditions there if Ljubljana's anything to go by. It's very snowy. And Zurich does get some very wintry weather. Ram air turbine has two buttons in the Airbus. You've got ram air turbine up here under emergency electrical power, and you've got ram air turbine up here under hydraulics. And that's because it provides us with two things. It provides us with electricity and a hydraulic power from the blue system. Only the blue system, as you can see on this little diagram up here. Something worth noting is you have to press the right one. If your QRH or ECAM guides you to press the button, you've got to press the right one. If you press the wrong one, it may not provide you with what you want. So that is worth noting. Brian says, have you ever encountered an emergency situation when flying? I have. But remember, emergency covers a very wide range of things. So just because emergency sounds exciting, it's not. A lot of the time, it's just very technical. Wexio, what does alpha floor mean on the PFD? If you go to my YouTube channel, there was a video under the normal law, alternate law, and so on. And in there, I talk about alpha floor. It's done in X-Plane 11, but it's the same. The animator just got intercepted by F-18. Excellent. Yeah, so for the Junkers 52 flight, I'm planning to do that just online, so everyone can just join in, fly along, as long as you've got an airplane that can fly at 40 knots or however slowly that thing flies. Old Man Bishop says, so does it take maintenance to get the gear reset after the gravity gear extension? Yes, oh, absolutely, yeah. Kevin would like some more BA 146. Definitely, we'll definitely use the 146, and I'm excited to see that arrive in Microsoft Flight Simulator as well. The more fully modelled airliners we can have, the better, or high fidelity, I should say. Wild Womble, good to see you. Wild Womble says, been listening in tonight while at work, but have to go and get my train home now. Safe landing, and I'll look up when I reach Stevenage Station. Excellent, Wild Womble. Enjoy your journey home. Thanks for coming along. Yeah, fixed info does indeed work now. So we should probably set up for the arrival, really. So let's do that. Flight plan. We're coming in via Banver. Now let's see if I can figure out Luton. Oh, I don't find this as intuitive as I should. And that's not Navigraph's fault, that's my fault, I'm sure. How can I... Yes, okay, there we go. Banver, 1 Lima. So we're coming in, where's Banver? Down there. Undug, Mayfield, Vatton, Prickmas Park, so right over Heathrow. And presumably will be quite high for these. Minimum holding altitude, flight level 200. So yeah, 200 from there. Mayfield above 200. Vatton, minimum holding altitude 180. So you go way over the top of Heathrow. And then up towards Laurel and back in. So I'm imagining that's going to be the arrival. And which is this a specific runways? Just ends up at Laurel. There's no other option. Anyway. So that solves it. So that's what we'll be doing. Let's grab a weather. Pretty much the first thing you always need before preparing. Send. Do we have... And to Scenic Routes, again, I should say thank you again. Thank you for that very kind donation. So, do we have an ATIS? There are a lot of people online. A lot of controllers online tonight. Center, approach. No approach. No, I don't think we do. Fine. Received. Print. Yoink. Right, Luton 34012 9999 light rain, scatter 1200. That's very UK weather. 5 degrees, raining, cloudy. Perfect. So, arrival. So that's obviously going to be. Let's get this right in my head. 25 to 34 would be 90 degrees. 90 degrees off. That's perfect, isn't it? Let's go for 25. Bamba 1 Lima. Via. Do we want to go via Abbott? No, not via Abbott. We're going via D008S. What is that talking about? Oh, we're certainly not going via Abbott. Let's try that. How does that look? Or I keep pressing the trigger to try and reset the view, which is what I used to have it set up as. Plan. Zoom in. There we go. So, overhead, Prickmas Park. Oof. Barkway. Buster. Which then it should go round the corner to Laurel, which is 187. I'm not sure what Laurel's based on. That's clearly... not sure. Anyway, from Buster we should go round to Laurel. Then it wants to go out. Oh, I see. No, we're not going to do that. I'm sorry, everybody. This is atrocious streaming. Me just clicking through stars and arrivals. There we go, Laurel. And I want to go straight in from Laurel. I don't want to go back out again. So I'll have that one and that one, please. Yeah, that is a bit of a spider's web, that flight path. So we're going to get rid of that. Let's change that arrival. What we don't want, approach vias, and I'm just going to say no via. Insert. Should bring up our arrival fuel, should improve from 1.1 in that case. Or not. I think the arrival fuel is still a bit buggy. We'll check that in a moment. But with 5.5 tons in the cruise, I think we'll be alright. I will check that shortly. Right, okay, so Rotsy, Cotton, Pollock, Dido, Ibal, Sawmill, Mayfield, that's it. Okay, Brooks Park, Barkway, Buster, Laurel. There we go, and then into the ILS. That's what I would expect to do. That's good. So we're going to come over London very high and then make our way in. Nothing too exciting to do there. Right, so fixed info. What could we use? Well, expecting it to be a sort of MSA. Igloo says, you're apologising, but this is how we learn. Excellent. Well, I'm glad it's useful. I suppose you guys have seen me do it so many times. If you didn't like it that much, nobody would be here, because we do it a lot. What's the maximum landing weight of the A320? Considering landing at Luxembourg instead.
Message for A320 sim pilot. If you set the arrivals no vias, it works out a lot better.
Thanks very much. Thanks. Yeah, we're getting help over VATSIM as well now. So yeah, we got rid of that no vias, and so perfect. It's very kind of someone to be helping us out on the VATSIM as well. I know there's a bit of a delay, so the reason that came through then is because obviously there's a delay between them seeing it. So anyway, good. So we're going to come back in by Laurel. I wish that was. Wouldn't it be great if in real life, whatever you're doing, whether it's flying airplanes or whatever, you could have a whole community ready to support you and help you out like that. It's great. Absolutely love it. Seatbelts can go off now. Would have definitely heard complaints from the cabin about that. Good. So yeah, let's put in fixed info. I reckon we'll put in the MSA here, 25 miles around the Luton locator. So I'm going to press the one left on the flight plan, fixed info, Lima Uniform Tango, and we want the NDB, which is that one, 300 miles away, which makes sense. Radius 25, and radials, it's got 090, 270, and 360. We're heading off this way, so I'm going to put in the 36 and the 27. Now there are reciprocals here, so I actually need to put in 18 and 090 to get the picture to look right on here. Now if we go to flight plan, scroll through, remember, there you go, it's drawn it on. So you can see there that that segment matches our chart now. We've got this segment here, so the MSA here is 2-1. As we go north, it drops to 2. I mean, it basically makes no difference. It's just 100 feet difference between these three segments. Basically pointless. This would be more useful in a more terrain-based area. That's what I talk about in my video on it. Constance says, the other day I replied to ATC in real life, direct Mayfair instead of direct Mayfield. There you go. Adam says, what happens if you have unruly passengers? Do you leave the cockpit and sort them out? I might skip that question, Adam, and just probably best I don't talk about that. But thanks for the question anyway, and I do apologise. Simon was asking, what's the maximum landing weight for the A320? Considering landing at Luxembourg. So the maximum landing weight will depend on the airplane you've got. 64.5 tons is one of them, 66 tons is another one, and it depends on what you want to certify your airplane for, and that would change. I think it would change some pressures and stuff in the tyres, things like that. I'm not 100% sure, that's an engineering side of things, but the maximum landing weight can be changed. 66 tons is the heaviest I know of in 320 family. 320 NEOs? Oh, I'll have to have a look. No, thanks Adam. J-Point, it's going to go for a few minutes, hopefully back in time for landing. Excellent, we'll see you soon. Marcel says, because landing AI aircraft takes so long to vacate the runway in Microsoft Flight Simulator, we get lots of go-arounds. In real life, how often do you get a go-around? It's very rare. That's the reality. If you go flying tomorrow on holiday, do you expect to go around? Probably not. And it's something we're always ready for, but it is very rare. I would say if I was working full-time over a year, 1 or 2 a year. Yeah. And that's out of, hundreds and hundreds of flights. It's just because the system's set up so that they're not normal. They're not a normal part of the operation. It wouldn't be efficient if they were. So it's set up to make sure that there's the least chance of them happening. 2 reasons why. They cost a lot of fuel, there's cost a lot of time, and they are a safety issue in the sense that it's, a go-around, especially a late go-around, let's say someone blocks the runway at the last second, there's obviously a safety issue there. Let's say we go around because we were unstable. Well, there's a safety issue there. So go-arounds don't happen just for the fun of it. There's an underlying issue that's caused it. So in aviation, we try and get rid of those issues as best we can. Lauren V says, on average, I think it was a go-around once every 1 or 2,000 approaches. Yeah, I could believe that. Yep. Constant says, had 3 go-arounds in 6 months, including one in Luton due to traffic on the runway. There you go. Constant, what did you fly? What aircraft? Jose says, what is the function of Autopilot 2? Autopilot 2 is exactly the same as Autopilot 1, but it uses its own system, so it uses the alternative system. So there's 2 big brains in this airplane. There's the FMGC1 and FMGC2. Now I'm circling the MCDUs, but they represent it in most people's mind and my mind, even though they're just actually a screen. But anyway, there's 2 computers that think through everything. Those computers have their own air data, they have their own pitot tubes on the outside, they have their own angle of attack, they have their own GPS. They are constantly thinking through all these things and figuring out where you are, how fast you're going, what the temperature is and everything. And they do it separately, and then they compare that information. Autopilot 1 uses one of them and Autopilot 2 uses the other. So if one of them completely breaks, the brain loses some of its inputs or something like that, or it gets confused, we can use the other one. That's what Autopilot 2 does. If we're doing an auto land, it's there as a backup, so it will... Oh, I just love this livery, so good. Yeah, if one of the autopilots is not working, we can use it as a backup instead of the broken system. Or on an auto land where it is incredibly important that everything is perfect, the airplane needs to know exactly where it is to the foot basically, then the 2 systems run together and they constantly compare, and if one of them fails at that point, then we don't do the auto lands to a certain point. Again, LVPs is just a massive topic, so I won't try and cover it all now. As one of the devs on LNAV, I've seen the Spider-Man gave me a heart attack, says Holland 786. No problem. It's I mean, to be fair, I don't actually know what that via is trying to achieve. It's trying to go via... Oh, there it is. It's trying to go via this. So it's a holding issue. So if the hold worked, that via might have worked. But yeah. The animator says, I've had one in the last 6 months, flying a 321. What was that for, the animator? What caused that? Ethan says, is 1939 when you arrive at the airport UK time? Pretty much, yeah, that's the idea. Vuti2, good to see you. Vuti says, wow, X-Plane 12 has quite a bit to live up to, looking at Microsoft Flight Simulator scenery. Yeah, it does indeed. I did see a video I hadn't seen before of... Austin showing the volumetric clouds in X-Plane 12. He said it's very early days. Now, they looked very good to me. It's a shame they kept saying how early days it is, because I don't know when we're going to see it. But they did look very good. So, nice to see that arriving in X-Plane, certainly. Just make it IMC. Unstable approach, says the animator. There you go. Yeah, it does happen. It does happen. An unstable approach is, you know, that if you go around from an unstable approach and it was your fault, then that's a good thing. That just shows that you've got the sense to realise it. What airlines don't want is people continuing. GD says, last time I experienced a flight with an unruly passenger, it was out of Helmand. And they were jailed for 3 days. Goodness me, GD, yeah. Well, that's not much fun. That's not great. Jose says, pilots have a formula to calculate the descending? Yes. Again, there's a video on my channel. If you search on YouTube, 320 Sim Pilot, when to descend. I have a video that talks exactly about that. Ador says, I've seen the spiderweb a few times, but I just fly heading following the chart. Yeah, that's fair enough. That'll get you through it. Thanks for the subscription to Simon. Nikolaj, hello to you. Johnny says, my son flew to Funchal Airport on Saturday, 2 go-arounds, so then landed at a neighbouring island. Pilots said that they are only allowed 2 tries and then they have to try again later. They say at the other airport then landed on the third try. Is this normal procedure? Apparently it was ATC who would not allow the landing due to wind. Pilots thought it was okay. So Johnny, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that story. Yeah, I can believe what happened there. Makes sense. Funchal, obviously notorious for its winds and will have its own wind restrictions. And you often find so for those of you who don't know, Funchal is an airport in Europe that is famous for having a runway basically on a hillside in the middle of the Atlantic, effectively. So it gets some strong winds and some nasty conditions. Yeah, as I said earlier, 2 approaches is normal to then go somewhere else, unless let's say you made 2 approaches and then the fog disappeared or the wind just went to calm. Then you might say, okay, the reason we've gone around twice is gone now, so let's try a third time. But if you're just going to keep trying and you're not getting in for the same reason, then no, you wouldn't do more than 2 normally. Now that's not a rule. This is where captains will be making the decision on this. It's not to say that you mustn't, and it's not really. It's an unusual situation to find yourself in, but it's usually weather related. So 2 is the normal amount. Now, eventually you can't keep. Let's say you diverted and then you make 2 approaches and you can't get in. So you might have to make your third approach there, that sort of thing. Again, these are all very rare, but if you're talking about why air traffic might not let you make an approach, some airports like Funchal, Gibraltar, places with unique geographical situations and notoriously bad weather problems, they will be very experienced at when weather isn't okay, or they might be more nervous of it. Anyway, the point being, they might have their own restrictions, and it sounds like from that story that for the ATC, it was out of their limits to let airplanes make an approach, even if the pilots thought it was okay. So that's possible. Yeah, I don't know the full details there, but you can find some airports that won't let you make an approach, even if legally the airplane is capable, you're capable, it's below maximum crosswind limits, but it could be that the airport has its own local rules and they won't let you. Yeah. 11 Clark has super chatted £1.79. Thank you very much, 11 Clark. Really appreciate it. 11 Clark says, how common is autopilot failure? Thanks for your content. You're very welcome. Thanks again for that donation. Really very kind. And how common is an autopilot failure in the Airbus? Very, 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 very uncommon. The autopilots in the Airbus are superb, and they are especially good at staying in during turbulence. But yeah, they are very good. So I've, touch wood, not seen an autopilot just fail on its own. Seen other things fail, but not an autopilot. The things that you're more likely to have an autopilot fail, not because it's actually broken itself, but because something it needs is broken, like an IR has gone offline or something like that. That's more likely. But for the actual autopilot itself to just decide it can't work, no, very, very rare on the Airbus. Don't think I've ever heard of it. Sure, it has happened, but yeah. Victor Tango says, sadly I must go now. I shall watch the landing later on. Thanks for the stream, 320s in pilot. I look forward to the next. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks, Victor Tango. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for your kind donation. And thanks for moderating. Mikhail says, will there be a film about transponder? I suppose there could be. It's not. Yeah, it could be. More of a VATSIM thing. Very short clip says, hi, can you explain the difference between ground and airspeed in short? Yeah. Ground speed, GS, ground speed, 430 knots. These are both in knots. TAS is our true airspeed, and over here is our indicated airspeed. So, ground speed is how fast we're moving over the ground, 428 knots. If you look, we have a headwind of 34 knots. The wind is coming from in front of us, so it's pushing us backwards. So we're actually having to move through the air faster than 427 knots if we want to move over the ground at 427 knots. So we're going through the air 33, 34 knots faster than that. So we're going through the air at 453. You know, another way to look at it is we're going through the air at 453 knots. It's moving over us that quickly, but because all of the air is moving backwards over us at 30 knots, it's slowing us down. Like swimming into a river. So we're swimming into the river. The river's moving at 30 knots, so we lose 30 knots of our speed over the ground. So that's what the ground speed is. The reason our indicated speed over here is so different is because it is much thinner air up here, so the sensor that judges this is a different sensor to what judges these numbers up here, or certainly the ground speed anyway. So the it's not getting as much air pressure, so it displays a lower number even though we're actually moving through the air much faster than that. Thanks for the subscriptions and the follows, really appreciate it. Holland786, thank you for the super chat. $10 Canadian, very kind of you, Holland. And Holland says, thank you for showcasing our aircraft. Lots of exciting things coming, especially full VNAV and failures. Hope you'll enjoy them. I really look forward to that. Yeah, definitely. And again, I'm a huge fan of the A32NX, as you all know. So thank you all for the work on it. It's just fantastic, and what a project, and how lucky we are to have a freeware Airbus that's at this standard in the sim. It's just great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to VNAV, and I see holds coming soon, which will be good. And like I say, if I can use Final Lap to fly some RNAVs into Queensland and places, then that's going to be top-notch stuff. Yeah, excellent. But thanks so much for that $10 Canadian donation. Really appreciate it, Holland. Very kind of you. Failures as well will be a big step. Yeah, it'll be good fun. The animator says, I'd say the most memorable go-around I had was caused by a Cessna 182 not listening to his takeoff clearance and sitting there lined up. Yep, that's not much fun. Crash Ed's off for dinner. Thanks, thanks, Ed. Everyone's off for dinner. Indeed, yeah, I do tend to stream at dinner time. Matthew Presley says there's a point where we can't even attempt an approach visibility wise. Not sure how it works over there, but in the States we can't attempt an approach unless we have at least the charted mids. Yeah, agreed, Matthew. We have the same thing in Europe. So Matthew is an airline pilot in the US who's always contributing excellent stuff to the stream. So thank you for coming along, Matthew. And the approach ban is what I referred to earlier. That means if it's foggy and it's below minima, you can't continue your approach below 1,000 feet above the runway. So we'll have to go around from 1,000 feet if the weather's gone below what we actually require to land. After 1,000 feet, it doesn't matter, we continue to minima. Enjoy dinner, Matteo? Yeah, everyone's off. I should have done this a bit earlier. Are you going to do a Funchal stream, says Marcel? We did do a Funchal stream once. Alex had dinner watching the stream. Excellent. Well done, Alex. That's the dedicated way. Thanks very much. As he says, how can you see the weather on the screen? You can't at the moment in this simulator, I'm afraid. Crashhead says, yeah, autopilots are SIL rated safety devices and use old but reliable devices, microprocessors. There you go. Thanks very much. That's good info. Amar says, sup, I'm flying my 32NX now to Heathrow to Barcelona. Excellent. Enjoy that. Thanks, Florian, for the subscription. Alex brought it in on a tray. Excellent. Yeah, proper Airbus way. Nicolaj is waiting most for the PMG 7.3. Yeah, that's going to be a very popular one. That'll be great stuff, won't it? Let's finish setting up. So, first of all, we do our little hat, flight plan, RadNav, progress, perf, fuel prediction, secondary. So we've done the flight plan, we've looked through it, and it all makes sense. It has the restrictions, 7,000 at Laurel, and then in we go for the approach, no problem there. India Lima Juliet is the ILS, it's tuned, which is correct. India Lima Juliet 10915, so that's good, it's tuning at a sensible point. Course 255, which is sensible, 255, great stuff. We could tune in the NDB as a sort of another nice thing to have. 345 is the Luton NDB. Let's do that. And I'm going to leave it auto tuning because there's no point in me tuning up everything else. The VOR and so on. There you go, Luton. Because it's going to, the real aircraft would actually have a VOR. It would already show 2 VORs tuned anyway. VT Jake has super chatted $10. Thank you very much, VT Jake. That's very kind of you. VT Jake says, hey 320, can you tell me quickly what frequency goes in the radio nav page on approach and what goes in the course entry? This has always stumped me. what a coincidence, yeah. So LS is where you put your ILS frequency. So you can put in the ident or the frequency, and then it should find the ident. So 10915. Course for the ILS is this course. So you see on the chart here, it's 255. It's the heading, or not the heading, the track that you will be flying on final approach. So that is the magnetic direction of the runway. It is 255 degrees. It points in that direction. So that's what goes in the course bar here. Now, it doesn't actually make a whole lot of difference. If you just tuned up the ILS and pressed LS, it wouldn't matter where you put the course bar because you could still use the diamonds here. Where it makes a difference is in this page, rows LS. You can see here, that should, it doesn't seem to be working, that should line up with 255. It should go across there. So that's what we use the course bar for. So that's the ILS course and that's the ILS frequency. Now, these are blank in the A32NX. They aren't blank in the real aircraft. What the real aircraft would do is it would tune nearby VORs as it's flying along, and it would use those to back up the GPS and the IRSs as part of its navigation. Now we can manually force it to tune whenever we want. If we were going to fly a VOR approach, then I would put in the VOR that I was going to use. There are no VOR approaches here at Luton. There's some NDB stuff, but if we were doing a VOR, and if you look at my channel, I've got a video into Corfu, a live stream into Corfu, where we flew the VOR approach. I would have done it in there. You will tune the VOR, and you'll tune, and then you'll put in the course. And again, it's the course for the approach. Now the NDB is different. Pretend this is a VOR approach. It would be 255, so we would put 255 in there as the course. Same idea as the ILS, really. So that's what you put. But for now, I'm going to leave it blank because in the real life the airplane would just be tuning things, and at some point it would tune everything that we see here. So it would tune Brookman's Park as we fly overhead on the Star. It would tune Mayfield. It would tune Barkway, and then it will have whatever it decides to have on approach. It doesn't really matter. Only if you're flying an actual approach using the VOR would I put in the VOR and the course bar, unless there's some useful reason to have it for the go around in case of some sort of navigation failure. Let's say there's a complex go around because of terrain and we have to turn towards the VOR. Maybe then I would have the VOR tuned up. This is a very long-winded answer. Hopefully that helps, VT Jake. Thanks again for the $10 donation. Really appreciate it. Wazir says, sorry if this has been asked already, but does the NEO have a top of descent marker? I've seen one on the 321 on X-Plane. The NEO does, but not in Microsoft Flight Simulator A32NX at the moment because it's not coded, but they are working on it. Matthew Presley says, had an autopilot try to bank us to 40-ish degrees one morning at 600 AGL, but that's it, no real full failures. Just disconnected, hand flew for 15-ish minutes, then reattempted, worked just fine. And wrote, presumably into the tech log, yeah, wrote it up after landing, that's it. Thanks, Matthew Presley. Yeah, interesting. I've had an autopilot that once to me, but not on the Airbus. But yeah, I think it was actually a bit of weight turbulence. But yeah, these things can happen, but they're very rare. No worries, BT Jake. Hopefully that helped. Right, progress page, EGGW, and now we know which runway we're landing on. He says 25. There we go. In that goes. Nothing else to do there. Performance. Let's enter it in. So QNH in Luton. 1001. Temperature 5. Oof. 34012, straight across 12 knots. So wind from the right, 7,000 transition altitude, that should be level. Although the fly-by-wire team assure me that there is an option to have that as altitude. I can't picture in my mind why. So yeah, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I can believe there's any sort of number of different configurations, but yeah, I don't fully understand why it says altitude. The transition altitude here, level is by ATC, but I can guess at the altitudes. If we look at departures, you can get an idea. So the transition altitude is 6. It's a low QNH, so I'm going to say 7,500 as a guess. Config full landing. So someone asked earlier, why would we do a config 3 if you had a really long runway and you didn't want to vacate quickly on it, i.e. you wanted to use more of the runway, you could use less braking, we'd do config 3. Magic of config 3 landings is two things. They use less fuel on approach because there's less drag because you've got less flap out, and they also are a little quieter because the engines will be at lower RPM. So they are more efficient, and officially they are the standard way to land a 320. However, nearly nobody does. The normal is flat full, config 3 used if there's good reason to. I like flat 3 landings in 319s, 321s. In the 320 I will do flat 3 landings, but I find them a little bit strange. It has a higher nose attitude on approach than the other two aircraft do when using flap 3. Typically if I use a flap 3 config, I'll also increase the approach speed slightly to get the nose down to more normal pitch. But when you land flap 3 you have less of a flare, so there's less to do, so you can get some really nice landings off them if it goes well. But in windy conditions, flap 3, no way, not interested. Lauren says, Flight Deck sim flew the 340 lately and manually tuned the VOR frequencies to the ILS frequency. Of course we objected. What would this do beyond give extra DME readings? Yep, nothing. If you put the ILS frequency into the VOR, you're just going to get the DME. So we might do that. If we're taking off, that's the time that's typically used. If we're taking off and we want to... Some departures will say something like, fly straight ahead, take off, fly straight ahead until 2.5 on the... India Lima Juliet on the ILS. So in that case, I don't need the ILS tuned up. Probably the airplane would tune it down there, but it's possible that it might be there'll be 2 ILS frequencies for each end of the runway, so maybe it will be based on the other end, so you might tune the frequency in there, but that's all it would do. And then you could select VOR1 and you'd get the DME reading up here. That's it. So it's not a problem as such, but yeah. I like that you objected. I'm sure you, yeah, there's a lot of Airbus knowledge in the community. Tattoo says, thank you for all the videos and streams. Greetings from Robin M.E. EFRO, -8 degrees. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Tattoo. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along. Glad you've enjoyed them. Iglufu says, I tried to set flap 3 the other day. About 3 miles out, the ECAM told me to set flap 4. So the reason the ECAM said that is because you also need to press, if you're going to land flap 3, you've got to set flap 3 up here. Landing flap 3 on, GPS landing flap 3. That's great, so it knows. So you'd have to change it up there, and you'd have to change it here, config 3, and it will increase the VAP, and then your memo will work, and your GPWS won't shout at you. If you don't do these things, the GPWS won't know you're landing flap 3, so it will say too low flaps because it will think you haven't put all your flaps out. Likewise, your approach speed will be wrong, and the ECAM memo won't know what you're landing at because you haven't changed it in here and told the airplane what you're doing. But we're going to go config full and leave it off on the overhead panel. The reason we're doing that is it's a relatively short runway, and we're going to be quite heavy as we arrive into Luton. So let's have airport parking. So here we go, 2,100 meter runway with a bit of an inset threshold. So landing distance for 2.5 is actually 2,080 meters. It's not a very long runway. So flat full, medium auto brake is most certainly what we're going to use today. Hopefully that works. Yeah, and the plan will be land and hopefully come off at Bravo. Possibly hotel if the plane stops very, very quickly, depending on my landing. So I've got the UK, I think it's UK 2000 scenery for this. I bought this one myself just before the stream. And Luton's an interesting airport. It's on a bit of a hill, so wind's like it's got. We've got wind today coming straight across from the right. So the wind comes over the hill, then over all the terminal buildings, so it could be bumpy, but given that we're landing hopefully here, we might have smooth enough air. It's just going to be the hill that will make an impact. It's also quite a sloped runway, so you'll hopefully notice it. I haven't flown in here, I haven't tried out the scenery. I loaded it up just to check it worked, but I haven't actually tried it out, so I'll be curious to see what it looks like when we land and what the approach is. Gabriel says, 2,000 meters is plenty. SDU and Rio's 1,200. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I've seen some of those videos on YouTube of those fantastic approaches into Rio. They do look amazing, with some very specific local procedures to make it work. Very short clip says my home city is Eham. Did you fly on it? Yeah, we've done Amsterdam before. Yeah, we've got a few people from there on our channel. Alex van der Pats lives very close to Eham. There you go. I think, yeah, we've definitely got a few more. I'm using the latest development version, Stav, of the fly-by-wire. Right, so we have to finish setting up. I'm easily distracted during streams on this. Cat 2, we're not doing a Cat 2. Cat 1, RNS 708, which is 200 feet above the runway, so 500 foot elevation. 708 Barrow, because we're not doing LVIS. Config full. For the go around, 1500, 1500, 1500. So, the airport's about 500 feet. Time to go down soon, 140 miles to go. It thinks we're going to run out of fuel. This is nonsense, of course, because we've got 4.2 tons. We're going to soon go to idle. I reckon we're going to burn maybe another ton. Landing with 3.2. Anyway, we won't be landing with minus 200. There's obviously a bug still with the fuel predictions. Let's get rid of the LS. We turn it on later. And I'm going to put this to NDB because I've tuned in NDB 345. NDBs wouldn't work this far out normally. They're not very good at range. Lauren V says we need to get you in the 319 so we can get some Santos Dumont on the channel. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's a good point. We could do that in X-Plane, couldn't we? Lars says, how did you find the transition from Q400 to 320? Massively different. Yeah, they are very different. Very, very different. But as I said earlier, I really enjoyed... I like aeroplanes, and I have no trouble with reading about them and learning about them. It's something I just enjoy. Ground school, when you're becoming an airline pilot, is a huge thing, and there's a lot of very difficult parts to it. And I'm not saying difficult... You don't need to be very clever, they're just a lot to learn. But something I never struggled with was the technical and systems side of that. I always enjoyed reading about how aeroplanes do things like hydraulics and so on. Now there is a limit to that because when it comes to sort of avionics, that's a different world. That's almost like magic at times. Working out calibrated airspeed and so on, that sort of stuff. But just talking about landing gear and tires or whatever part of the airplane it is, it's interesting. And when you swap airplane and do a new type rating, that's what a lot of the theory stuff you do is, how does this airplane pressurize, how does it clean the air, how does it feed the water supply, how does it manage its electricity, and on the list goes. And you sort of can't believe that it ever got certified because it's just so complicated. How did anybody ever design it and then build it and then get it certified? It's amazing really that it ever happens. But yeah, in terms of flight, the Airbus does a lot of nice things for you. So although it's very different, it actually alleviates your workload compared to the Q400 in many ways, and that makes it slightly, I think it's a more comfortable place to work for a day, put it that way, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. Jack says, how many hours did you need before you were able to move onto the 320? So it's not how many hours you need. You could fly the 320 as your first airplane. It's just about where you're working and your airline at the time and what airplanes they have. So you just don't. Yeah, it's not. You can fly the A320. There'll be lots of pilots have come out of flight school and gone straight onto 320s. Yeah, in Europe. But yeah, interesting question. Matthew Presley says, outside of the MD-11 type, I've heard the systems class on that bird is a monster. Yeah, MD-11 looks quite unique. Some airplanes are quite unique and they can cause headaches. Why does overlay say 360? That's a good question. Presumably because I'm on standard and there's a big difference with the QNH, but that's a pretty impressive difference. Good spot. I don't know. Steph says, what about the new Toliss 340? Yeah, we've flown that twice and we'll be flying that again. Absolutely love it. Great add-on. The speed limit's on the left of the engine display. Oh, there's a good question. So this is a placard that most airplanes will have this shown somewhere because it's hard to remember all of them and it can change on the airplanes. For example, the flap 1 limiting speed is 230 knots in this airplane, whereas I believe it's in the 246, something like that. Anyway, there's a higher one, flap Flap 2 is 200 knots, whereas it's higher on the 321 NEOs, things like that. Anyway, so these are... V is like velocity. Think of it like velocity. So it's your speed. So VLE, so that's the velocity, the maximum velocity for landing gear extension. LE, landing gear extension, is 280 knots, max decimal 67. VLO is the velocity... Sorry, not extension. Landing gear extended. So VLE, velocity with landing gear extended. So 280 knots or Mach decimal 67 with the gear out. Then we got VLO, velocity for landing gear operation. So that means we can move the landing gear. So we can extend the landing gear at 250 knots. We can retract it at 220 knots. That's because when we retract the landing gear, that nose gear has to come up forwards into the airflow. So if you're going forwards too fast, it can't do that. And the whole thing's just frozen. Oh, that was a close call. That's probably the Luton scenery loading up. We're going to have to descend soon. 109 miles here. Let's get down. Mayfield at 200. So down we go to 200. Thrust level open descent. Yeah, so we can extend the gear at 250 knots because it can fall down into the airflow, but we can retract it at 220. Once it's out and all the gear doors are closed, we can increase to 280 knots. Now, why you do that, there's only a very few situations, very rare. It'd be very noisy and uncomfortable. VFE are velocities for flap extension, or with flaps extended. So flap 1, 230, flap 1 plus F, 215. So these are the maximum speeds you can be with that amount of flap out. So that's what that little placard is for. The hold is not already implemented, Han. Sadly not. No, holds are not implemented. But I believe they're on the way. Sergey says, is the Honeycomb Bravo worth it? I cannot answer that question yet, but we'll be in a position to very soon.
In Gatwick.
Yeah.
Really sorry about that, mate. It's a bit easy. I literally didn't see you. Something's up with my model matching.
Not sure what's going on there.
Oh, sorry, yeah, no, sorry. No worries for me.
That's him. Love the Wizz Air Cups too.
It's Subject 1 at Whiskey. We're going to be going for Alpha 3, giving way to 6 left. Check out traffic.
Lauren V says, VLE, I think would be if your gear was stuck down would be the only situation. Yeah, so your gear could be stuck down. I mean, if let's say your gear's got stuck down, you have a huge increase in fuel burn, so you wouldn't want to go anywhere very fast with it out. I think my guess is, let's say you're very high and you want to use the gear as drag. You could extend the gear at 250, and then once it's fully extended, you could then increase the speed. That's one option, but it's got to be already extended safely and everything. But I've never done that. That would be a very extreme situation. You'd be so high, it would almost be silly. The most likely scenario I can think of is a gear down ferry flight. If an airplane is damaged or something like that, it may not be allowed to fly pressurized or with passengers, but the airline might want to move it because they can't fix it where it is. Let's say an airplane has a hard landing or a tail strike, gets stuck in an airport that doesn't have the facilities to fix it. You might do a gear down ferry or an unpressurized ferry.
Jet 18 Whiskey will hold Alpha 1.
In those situations,
Gatwick traffic.
There you go, it's just gone from Mach to speed. In those situations, you might find yourself leaving the gear down and flying it slightly faster than 250 knots. But the thing is, again, it would be so noisy, the amount of drag from the gear in that situation. I'm having serious frame rate issues. Matthew Presley says you can use the gear down as drag. Great minds think alike. Exactly, yeah. Matthew is always in sync. Matthew says, clearly never flown into Mexico. Don't know what high is until you've flown into a small Mexican mountain town. Ah, yes, there you go. So that is... I've not had to do it, but maybe it's something that people do out there.
Yeah, traffic on the ILS at Gatwick. What's your
range, if it's required.
Please?
Because it will give you good amounts. And I have used gear for drag, but I haven't... I've put the gear out, but I haven't had to also increase to 280 knots, because that would be a huge amount of drag. Marcel says, one of your best streams. I've learned so much this evening. Thank you. That's great to hear. Thanks, Marcel. Really appreciate it.
We'll give way to holding Alpha 1.
This ATC is using VATSIM, so it's not quite a website, but yeah, it's online, Ethan. Is an open descent of 3,000 feet per minute typical? Yeah, 3,000 feet per minute possible, especially doing 310 knots. It won't hold that. It should now start to reduce. Yeah, there we go. Carnage on the ground at Gatwick, says Lauren B. Yeah, agreed. I can hear that. Yeah. Okay. So what else do we need to set up? Done the perf. Done the fuel, which is wrong.
Away from
Secondary, not active.
Notice for the Tomjet, basically 26, 29 gust crosswinds.
Oof, sounds windy in Gatwick. That's a good prompt for us to update our weather. So I've noticed this scenery, this is the scenery just from the marketplace for Luton. This does seem to affect my frame rate more than others, just me personally. And we'll see how it is when we get down there. Brent. Ethan says, how do you know what to say? Do you just learn it, or does it tell you what to say? How does say about what, Ethan? Mark S says, try that with the 737 iFly alarm start up pretty quick. There you go. Yes, Papa, good to see you. Yes, Papa does a lot of hard work on our Discord, and has been a part of the community for a long time. Thanks for coming to moderate as well. Yes, Papa. I hope work was not too difficult.
Tomjet 18 Whiskey lining up.
Matthew Presley says, left. Full gear and flaps at 15,000 feet while putting 3,000 feet per minute at 165 knots. Dive, dive, dive. There you go. So yeah, so with the gear out, you can get some serious descents going. Speed up star. Well, we're going to continue down now. We're gone past Heathrow. If we go press airport, Heathrow is
that's lining up on the runway now.
About to go beneath us. Let's go down to 100s. Thrust idle, open descents. Do 330. Track miles, 65 miles, 20,000 feet. So we're pretty much almost on profile.
Gatwick traffic easy.
Couple of thousand feet high.
Kilo vacated, 26 left. Many thanks for holding.
Nice and quiet descent over London. No one's going to hear us as we whisper by idle. Not had to use the speed brakes though so far, which is good news. There's Heathrow just behind there. Thanks for those subscriptions and follows. Really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, a like does make a big difference.
18 Whiskey is now lining up behind the extremely inconsiderate EasyJet from way 265 Gatwick.
Oh dear, it's all kicking off at Gatwick. Just love this livery. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Oh, and we have the updated version of Flight Recorder. So let me get that set up. And someone please remind me to press record as we get closer in. Fused Playman says, hello, didn't realise you had a Twitch channel. Really like YouTube videos. Thanks so much, Fused Playman. The Twitch is relatively new. We have been streaming on YouTube for a while, but yeah, thanks so much for coming along. Thanks for saying so. 25 knots, Fuji 2. Yeah, it's not a controller. I think they're just traffic. But yeah.
Left of your ICAO code, is it? Tango Oscar Mike.
It's getting very busy on Unicom. Let's grab the latest weather. Let's just see how windy Luton should be. So Luton 350-16. Yeah, it's breezy from the right. So excuses for landing. Crosswind straight away, easy, and it's on a hill, so it could be quite turbulent in the last few bits. So I'm not actually expecting much here, because this is just going to be a case of get the drift off and get it touched down in the zone, because we've got a shortish runway. We don't want to spend too long in the flare here. 350-16. Ground speed mini does work in this, but in the Neos it's such a reduced feature anyway. With that wind all across, 16 isn't a lot across, don't get me wrong, it's not a big deal, but it could be quite rough at Luton. So I'm going to actually, in the real aircraft, it is a short runway, so I don't want to float. I might be tempted. If it was any stronger, I might add some VAP, but I think I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it as it is. Right, let's go back to constraints, zoom in. I'm going to transmit to traffic soon. There's a few places in California that require the same thing. I'm looking at UKSBA and KSBPs and Matthew Presley. Excellent, there you go. Matthias says, are you using DX12? I found the FPS was atrocious. No, I'm using 11. Speed up start, yeah. Luckily, I guessed that I should use the more traditional one, and it sounds like I made the right guess there. Right, Brickman's Park, altitude limit here. It's not very clear. This is one of the least clear charts. We're supposed to be 180, so we're about it, so we've already gone below that. So we're actually probably a bit low compared to this. Brickman's Park says max 250. Should be 70 by Laurel. Let's get that to 70. And I think we're doing a vertical speed now. Passing 10,000 feet, VS 800s, LS buttons on. Let's get the landing lights on. Get the passengers strapped in. QNH change also. Thanks very much. Good spot. QNH now at Luton 1002. That is used by the computers for sorting out the pressurization, believe it or not. Right. Approach checklist. Briefing is confirmed. ECAM status is checked. We've got seatbelts and landing lights. Seatbelts on. Barra ref is 708 set. Oh, I could keep doing that. Barra ref is on standard. This is because it wants to be on QNH. I've said that because of low QNH, I've said the transition level is higher. So let's go to QNH now. And we'll do altitude 102. Yeah, so QNH 1002. So Barra F 1002 set, MDADH 708 set, and engine mode selected. We can leave it in norm. It's gusty, but no real icing conditions, and it's just a bit cold. How much vertical speed is a 3-degree descent? Says Omar. Good question. It actually will show us on the ILS chart. There you go. 3 degrees, 140 knots, 743 feet per minute. If we're doing 180 knots, it's 955 feet per minute. So crucially, it changes. The faster you're going, obviously, the higher your vertical speed has to be. There are a lot of short rollbacks on your Twitch stream, says Ifri. Okay, sorry about that, yeah. We do have a bit of trouble today. I'm going to have to rework my stream settings again, it seems. Right, 220 knots for these turns, which makes sense. It's doing a great job, this custom LNAV. So pleased with this. So pleased. Now we're getting illegal operations on VATSIM, and I don't know why. I don't know why. It's been behaving the whole time. Yeah, so to get your ground speed, you... Exactly, Freddie. It's ground speed is over 2 times 100. So our ground speed is... To fly 3 degrees from here, take our ground speed, 237. Divide it by 2, which is about 115. So we need to do 1,100 feet per minute. So 115 times 100. If we're doing 200 knots, it would be 1,000 feet per minute. If we're doing 150 knots, it'd be about 800 feet per minute, 700 to 800 feet per minute. Wazir says, is it cutting the bust away point? Yeah, it is. That's a little unrealistic. The real aircraft would be a little better at that. You wouldn't fly sort of 4 miles away from it. Luton traffic was there 296 descending via Barkway and then Laurel for the ILS runway 25. Currently routing to Barkway. Out star. That's a bit of a summary picture. Sort of the scorched earth of the summer. Well done, Freddie. Yes, yeah, no, absolutely spot on. Okay, round the turn. 220 knots it's doing, and we can do it clean. We've burnt off that fuel. Currently 64.6, so relatively heavy for a landing. Yep. Might even go max reverse if it was wet, certainly would. So, still 7,000 metre Laurel. So I'm going to stick to those speed restrictions. This has not been a very efficient approach. We did well over London, but yeah, I overcooked it. Thinking about too many things there, so flying level like this. Although, to be honest, it's quite likely. There are airports where you can't do a continuous descent just because it's too busy, and London airspace is one of those places where sometimes you can, and sometimes you just have to do what you're told. Ah, thanks, Richie2. Apparently there's a controller at Luton. So the ATIS now is information echo. Let me print it out. Don't want to get too distracted here. We'd let the other pilot handle this stuff normally, obviously, because we're busy flying. Oh, I can't see it. That's going to be the GGW. I want arrival. Doesn't really matter too much here. And that's sending. That's it says, can't wait for 321 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Indeed. Ozzy says, minimum set to Barrow and not radio out. Yeah, because we're doing a Cat 1 approach, so I would set it to Barrow. Exactly. We only use the radio if we're doing low vis stuff, normally. Runway 25, transition level 75. Yes, we guessed that right. 35014, so it's dropped a bit. Oh, it's accelerated. Yeah, that's a bit of a mess of the coding. It wouldn't normally do that. So let's put it back to 230 like it was, or even 220. Getting illegal operation 25 over and over again. And I thought we'd fix this, but it's come back to haunt me, this V-pilot problem. It doesn't do it at next plane. Anyway, there we have information echo. QNH 1003 now. Wind is 35014. Good stuff. Right, I wouldn't bother updating it anymore unless there's a significant change. Distance to go, 11 miles, so let's activate the approach phase. It is activated. So why? That's unusual. Yes, I was going to say. Good, 11 miles out. I won't be slowing down, so let's go to flaps 1. Oh, well, actually, we're never going to manage this. I don't know what I've been doing. I've been talking to you guys with the Laurel restriction, but we needed to be right back for that descent, so we're going to have to break off this approach. Because we were 10 miles out, 7,000 feet. That's entirely my fault. Still getting a legal operation. Because, of course, this Laurel, it'll be 6,000, and you need to be 3,000 shortly after. So, yeah, that I've been relying on this restriction in the MCDU, but that's absolute nonsense. That's not what you'd be doing. So, we're not going to manage that. So, what I'm going to do is head off to the south and wait for air traffic to contact us, which I hopefully will, 180, and then we can get some vectors and descent. You do have to be on VATSIM to get an ATIS, Thacros. Yep, you need to be on there. Checkpoint says, I love the new cams they've added to the A32NX, especially the taxi cam from the tail. Yeah, I do like the camera views they added. They are very good. So we are already at 7,000 feet. Question is, what would we do here? What do we do here? We're just heading south now. I'm sure I'm annoying them. They haven't contacted us. Normally you get contacted. Essex approach 120625. There we go. This is obviously not a realistic situation because you'd never lose contact with their traffic and then...
3.
Well, you could, but... Yeah, you wouldn't make it up like this.
So heading number 265, 0 degrees, descend to 5,000 feet, QNH 1003, with air to 905.
EZ42 Papa, descend flight level 70.
Descend flight level 70, EZ42 Papa.
Essex Radar, good evening. Wizz Air 296, 7,000 feet, heading 180 degrees. We are 320 NEO. We've got information echo.
Wizz Air 296, Essex Radar, hello, no delay for 25, turn left heading 055 degrees.
Left heading 055 degrees, Wizz Air 296.
And Wizz Air 296, just confirm, just maintaining flight level 70.
Sorry, yeah, we didn't have an ATIS earlier, so we've gone to altitude 7,000 feet, QNH 1002.
Okay, Wizz Air 296, thanks. Make the heading, yes, 055 and descend now to altitude 6,000 feet, QNH 1003.
Thank you, heading 055, descend 6,000 feet, QNH 1003, Wizz Air 296. Okay, there we go. Very nice controller. very understanding. So heading 055, open descent to 6,000 feet. We don't actually need open descent. Let's go VS. Just keep it under control at this point.
With 295, turn left heading 165, speed 180 knots.
And
Turn left heading
you can see the
165,
box
speed
is
180
sequenced
knots,
past
with air
where we
295.
are, but we'll manage without that because it's got Luton as the destination, so that's
Easy
absolutely
42 Papa, descend
fine.
now to altitude
In real life, we
5,000
could
feet,
also
position QNH
go
1003.
back on here and you could get the previous waypoint, but it's not going to work in here. So I'm not going to fiddle. But
With
effectively,
295, descend now to altitude 3,000 feet.
FF25 would be the next waypoint.
Descend to altitude 3,000 feet with air 295.
I'm not going to change the QNH just because this is what my flight simulator's got loaded, 1002. So yes, in real life you
Easy
would put
793,
1003.
descend flight was 70.
Something to note as well is the so yeah, just to be clear, in real life, yes, you would put the new QNH that the controller gives you because that's the most accurate. But obviously, flight simulator
296, speed 220 knots.
220 knots was there 296.
Easy 42 Papa, left turn heading
Interesting.
265.
Unusual for them to want you to speed up,
180
but it can happen. We can do 220 knots.
265 and again speed.
Presumably because he's trying to get us out of the way of somebody else.
Speed 180 knots.
Speed 180 knots, easy 40 Papa.
Wouldn't want to bring the
Easy
flaps in though.
793, leave Parkway heading 015 and speed 220 knots.
But yeah, so my flight simulator, I'm just pressing B to make sure it's the most accurate to what my simulator has loaded.
Wizz Air 295, turn right heading 225.
Also, we have Wizz Air
Wizz
295 and 296 on this frequency. Of course, in real life that wouldn't happen. It would be designed, or those would be deconflicted, those call signs, so the computer would change one of them. So they shouldn't actually get filed to be both the same. Sorry about that though, I have extended our flight by overconfidence in the coding, which is the standard thing. It is a computer.
Easy 42 Papa, turn left heading
You've got to be on top of it, and that's why you can't rely on VNAV for everything, because this is the sort of thing that can happen.
Turn left 175, descend altitude 3,000 feet, easy 40 Papa.
15 miles out, so we could turn around now. We'd make
Wizz Air
it.
295, speed 160 knots until 4 miles.
I don't know where Essex Control is based. Good question, Booster 2.
Yeah, speed 160 knots till 4 miles with air 295.
We're so far out, we could think about trying to fix the box, but I think not. There's Stansted.
Wizz Air 296, turn left heading 355 degrees.
Left hand 355 degrees. Was that 296? There we go then. Five five.
Wizz Air 295, surface wind 350 degrees 14 knots, runway 25, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 25 with air 295, thank you.
Easy 40 Papa, turn right heading 225 degrees when established on the localizer, descend on the glide path.
I spent a lot of time making sure I was at the front of the queue, and then I did this. Still, it's worked in our favour. We get vectors onto the approach,
turn
which
left
is
heading
always nice.
265 and descend to altitude 5,000 feet to Luton QNH 1003.
You can see though, he's keeping us 220 knots, 6,000 feet. Yes, it's 500 foot elevation, but we're going to need about 18 miles from here. So
and easy 793, speed 180 knots.
we are heading slightly away from the airport at the moment. But by the time he turns us in, we need to be descending and slowing down. If we were slow now, I wouldn't be worried, but we've got two things to do, slowing down and going down at once. It's always tricky. Indeed, Dougal, agreed, yeah, it is nice when you get controllers like this online. We've often got ourselves in trouble by connecting halfway through approaches, many times in fact.
With a 295, just information that aircraft at your 12 o'clock, just over the threshold, I'm not in contact with him.
It's all kicking off in London today. He's busy landing.
Easy 793, turn left heading 165 and descend to altitude 3,000 feet.
Left heading 165, altitude 3,000 feet, easy 793.
With Air 296, turn left heading 285 and descend to altitude 5,000 feet.
Left heading 285, descend to 5,000 feet. Was there 296?
Easy 40 Papa, speed 160 knots until 4 miles.
Alright.
Speed 160 knots until 4 miles. Easy
285. Still heading north and away. Interesting.
And with Air 296, speed 180 knots.
180 knots was there 296.
Close with Air 565 aspect of
180 knots.
70.
5,000 feet.
With Air 5665 Essex radar, hello information.
Vertical
Echo
speed.
landing 25,
Right.
no delay.
Speed. Vertical speed
Turn left
-500.
heading 015
Out blue
degrees
for
and
5,000,
maintain
which is good.
cycle
And
70.
180 knots. We're going to do that flap one, which will be absolutely fine. Thank you very much for those follows to Pillar Pilot, Saw Red, Dion. So we're going to go through to the north and come in from the north side now. So for those of you wondering,
Somebody stepped on you.
we are up here.
For the
Well,
localizer, easy 793.
we're sort of heading like this.
793, thanks. The right turn was heading
So we're going to make a
225,
left turn
and we're
back
well
in
established,
and then
descend on
set
the
for
glide
that
path.
approach.
225 and descend on the glide path, easy 793.
You're on here. Yeah, so we're just like this at the moment. So it's all coming together, and now the speed's back. I'm not worried about the altitude anymore. Yeah, this HC does sound very authentic. Thanks, Peter Pilot. Glad you're enjoying it.
With Air 296, turn left heading 185 and descend to altitude 3,000 feet.
Left heading 185, descend altitude 3,000 feet. Was that 296? There we go. So that's really opened us up. 3,000 feet. Heading 185. That's quite an extreme intercept.
With Air 5665, speed 220 knots.
It's because we've all arrived at once. He's doing a great job squeezing us all together.
Easy 793, speed 160
So
knots
3,000
until
feet.
4
We're doing
miles.
500 feet per minute. This is working out.
160 till 4 DME.
I'm aiming to not have to level off again until we're on that glide slope, which I think should be doable from here, unless we get any extended vectors for any reason. It is busy on VATSIM today, mainly because we've all, I think there were 4 or 5 of us coming today. It's really good. Big group.
Easy 40 Papa, expect a late landing clearance.
Expect late landing clearance, please, 40 Papa.
What do you go around if
Easy
control
40 Papa, surface wind 35.
tells you to do so even if the runway is clear, says Aussie?
125,
Yeah, in that case, yes.
Runway 25 clear to land, easy 40 Papa.
Because there could be loads of reasons they send you around. They could send you around because of an airplane going around from another runway, for example.
With Air 296, turn right heading 220 degrees when established on the localizer, descend on the glide path.
Right heading 220 degrees when established localizer, descend, glide. Was Air 296. Heading 220, and he,
with Air 295, taxi via Bravo.
in a long
right on
way
Alpha,
there, he's effectively
Delta,
cleared us for the ILS.
and
So
47.
I'm going to press approach and the second order pilot. Cat 3 single, AP1 plus 2, Cat 3 dual.
Taxi Bravo, right on Alpha and stand.
And you'll see that we're pretty much matching the glide slope now. So why did he say when established localizer ascend with the glide? It's because we're only going down to 3,000 feet. Oh, that is actually platform. So I'm surprised he said it like that. Normally they wouldn't. But anyway, they do sometimes use that phraseology.
Essex approach, good evening.
Lock star. In a moment we'll get glide star. 12 miles out. I'm going to stay at flap 1 because we've got the speed back.
Boeing 767 bound
Bit
for
of a
1 Lima.
tailwind.
Arrival.
What was it, 767 coming in
I'll
next?
call you back in approximately 5 minutes.
Look at the graphics. Unreal.
Roger that, FedEx 409.
Just spot on. Oh, it's a FedEx. Glide slip star. Let's put it
Was
on.
Air 296, speed 160 knots until 4 miles.
160 to 4 was that 296. Oh, that solves that one then. 160, well, we can't get away with it anymore. You're not going to do 160 flap 1. Flaps 2. There it is. Sorry I don't look at the controls when I move them. It's because I've got the hardware here, so I've put flaps 2 there. It might struggle to come back to 160. I might need to use a bit of speed brake here. Anyway, let's check the going altitude. 3,000 feet.
Left on Bravo, stand 5, easy 40 Papa.
In the window already. It's not doing it. Flap 2, 180. Yeah, very realistic. It would easily hang here, especially with the tailwind. So
14 knots, 1025,
a bit of that.
Clear climb runway 25, easy 793.
Start the recording. Hopefully this works the same way. I haven't used this new recorder yet. But fingers crossed it works.
Was there 5665, turn left heading 220 degrees, descend to altitude 3,000 feet. It's in
There we go.
QNH1003.
Speed brakes away, reaching 160.
Monitoring 220 degrees, descend and maintain
See we
2000.
are sitting, drifting to the left, of course, with the wind from the right. Recording is now on. Thanks, AY289. Thank you very much. Excuses. There's the red out to live. 25. We're about 500 feet elevation here. That makes sense. 3,000 feet.
For me, please, again, with
1202 is all set. Looking sensible.
295, stand 47.
So,
Stand 47, copy that. Thank you. Was there 295?
next checklist is the landing checklist. Let's give the cabin a ding.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
160 to 4 should be no trouble here. Yeah, so excuses. Crosswind from the right, Luton's on a hill, short runway. Those are all what we're going to use. Going to manage the speed now, close enough. Thrust comes back.
Was there 296, expect to late landing clearance?
Roger, was there 296? Right, well, let's make our lives easy then. Get down. Flaps to 3. Get the last of the lights on. And flaps to full.
Was there 5665?
Landing checklist, cabin is secured. Auto thrust is in speed mode. Go around altitude 3,000 feet set. ECAM memo is landing in blue. Let's just refresh that go around if we need it. It's off. Straight ahead 1.5, left 088 just for vectors. So a left turn downwind effectively. Good stuff. Right. As I said earlier, I have got a slightly new setup, so I'm going to try and see if I can land. That's also an excuse. And it's 1,100 feet. It still counts. Yeah, I'm sitting in a slightly different position. So we've got medium water brake, flat full landing with that crosswind from the right. And you can see quite severe. There we go. 1003. Absolutely right, Zephyr. How did you know?
Was there 296, surface wind 350 degrees, 14 knots, 1025, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 25, was there 296. Thanks, Cam. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Right.
Was there 296, surface wind 350 degrees, 14 knots, 1025, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 25, was there 296? That's because I pressed the old button there. As the workload picked up, I went back to the old button.
ED793, left
Autopilot off.
On Bravo, stand 6.
So, let's see what the scenery is all about.
Bravo, stand 6,
And let's just not do too much. Let the airplane stable.
Was there 5665, no ATC speed restriction.
So you can see that those approach lights are actually up on sticks. Because it's the airport, the runway itself is on a hill.
Was there 5665, no ATC speed restriction.
Sorry, Roger, no
Feel the bumps.
Use air pressure.
50, 40, 30,
Idle.
20, 10, 5.
There's touchdown. Just drifting a bit to the right there, but that's okay. Get the reverses in, medium water brake, taking the strain. So we've got spoilers, reverse screen, and decel.
Echo landing 22, stands to descend.
70 knots, idle reverse.
And no delay.
Ooh, I think we're going to make the exit here.
Information Echo, landing runway 22.
So, manual brakes.
No delay.
Start the timer for the... It does keep going off to the right there. Start the timer for the reverse. I think that worked out all right. Oh, you can feel the bumps. There's a lumpy...
Was there 5665, new
runway.
QNH 1004.
Yeah, I think we can come off here. Let's do it.
QNH 1004.
QNH 1004.
Greaser butter, was it? There we go. We'll take that. Because there was a bit of a crosswind. Hopefully the replay captured it. Had to use a bit of rudder. Didn't... Just extended that flare. You saw flare went on a bit long. Came back to bite us a little bit at the end. And that's why you don't want to really drag it out in these conditions if you can avoid it. Utterly battle, he says, crash ahead. Excellent. Good stuff. So welcome to Luton. There's the orange EasyJet hangar. Big landmark. You can see Luton Airport from miles away in the air because of that hangar. It does stand out. John came just in time for the pack. Good to see you, John Padfield. Hope you're doing well.
That was 296, right turn on Alpha, Delta, stand 48.
Right turn, Alpha, Delta, stand 48. Was there 296. Thanks very much for your help. Excellent. Sure. So that's excellent controller, really nice, and he helped out even though I made a mess of things. So Alpha, Delta,
right heading 045.
Alpha,
Right, heading
Delta,
045,
and we're going to stand
049.
48, which is in the left here. So hopefully it's all going to be signposted correctly. So vacating the runway. Get rid of the... No, not those.
And FedEx 409, there's no 86
Those,
speed
get rid of the strobes, get the APU up and
Free
running.
speed, FedEx 409.
Was there 5665, surface wind 3500.
Okay, my frame rates seem better now than they were earlier.
Clear to land.
The top of the screen is using Fly Live Studio.
25 with 565.
Yeah, this is right, good. Let's bring the flaps in. Speed brakes down. APU's coming. Good stuff. So we'll go and park up, and then we've got a replay to come. I use Fly Live Studio and Streamlabs lastly, but I've heard
26 track miles,
people have been saying I should swap off Streamlabs, so I need to have a look at some other things. Thanks, Dog's Ears. Glad you enjoyed it.
Down to 4,000 feet, QNH 1003, FedEx
Might see
409.
some traffic landing here. Thanks, Victor Temes. Appreciate it. E-Boss, glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's been great fun to be back streaming, so thank you all so much for coming along. And yeah, no, I really enjoy it, and we've had some beautiful views today. 2 high quality sceneries. We're not actually going over to see the EasyJet hangar, which is a bit of a shame, but we'll go over to this side of the Luton terminal. This scenery is pretty good. Let's see if it's got the stand in the right place. Oh, slow down. And then, of course, like I say, we'll have the replay. Hopefully that works. I believe it's been updated a bit more now. Yeah, you'll notice on landing, I tried to press... I used to use F9 for transmit, and now I've got it set to the side stick. So, that was a bit embarrassing.
409, sorry, descent.
However, if I ever fly a different airplane and I'm not using the A320 grip, I've got real problems because I'm going to have to go back to using F9. Vucci2, thanks so much for your £10 donation. Really appreciate it, Vucci2, who says, pair character flying in the air with a red cape and a smile on his face. That is Streamlabs describing the super chat. So there's the pair smiling with the red cape. Thank you very much, Vucci. Really appreciate it. Very kind. Thanks so much, Vucci2. Yeah, I use OBS. No, I use Streamlabs OBS, but which apparently is a separate thing. But yeah, there we go. Right, East Apron. Here we go.
FedEx 409, just confirm the aircraft type.
48 actually looks free, which is good news.
409.
Roger.
But yeah, thank you, Vucci, for that very generous donation. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along. Yeah, a hardware tiller would be good fun. I don't know if anyone's made one for sort of consumer flight sims yet. Marcel Dupree, you're very welcome. Thanks so much for coming along. And here it is, stand 48. Flaps rear, APU is available. Get rid of the lights. The accumulator's got some pressure. Slow it down. No guidance, sadly. This would be a marshalling stand, I think, in real life. I think. Cam8321 says, did you practice touch and goes on the actual aircraft somewhere, or was it all in the sim? No, I've done it in the real aircraft. Yeah, it's great fun. Absolutely brilliant fun. Your first time doing it as well, you have to do it in the real aircraft. You can't do it in the sim. It's only experienced pilots who are allowed to do it in the
FedEx 409, a turn right heading 135 base left.
Right, let's see if we can get the stop bar done properly.
FedEx 409.
I'm going to guess somewhere there. That could be a bit late. Let's see.
Was there 5665?
Oh, not bad.
Right,
Not bad.
Alpha,
Pretty close.
Delta,
right, thank you to that controller. They've done an excellent job. We'll disconnect now. And it's time for the replay. Yeah, indeed, Roy says, here comes the hardest part of the flight. It absolutely is. Parking, especially on one engine, is a real mission. So, thank you all for coming along. Welcome to Luton. I won't shut it down because I'm going to see how this new replay handles things. So I'm going to press stop. And I won't do too much. We'll look at this scenery on another stream, I think, when we depart from here. But there's the EasyJet hangar, 2E hangar. So they've got the right branding and the stands are all in the right place. So pleased to see that. Let's try pressing replay. It says replay as, and you can choose the aeroplane. Interesting. And Does it put the flaps and things in the right place? No, I don't think it's at that point yet. Let's try. So I'm going to put the flaps out. Gear down. I think I still have to do that myself. Parking brake off. Okay. This is obviously a freeware program and it does its best, but it's been amazing. It's been such a relief to have replays, thankfully. Ruchi2 said, I wanted to do touch and goes in a real A320, but they said I had to use a sim. Ah, that's a shame. So I'm using Flight Recorder from flightsim.to. It's excellent, but there are some things you just need to be aware of when you're using it. So let's see the landing. Got a little bit high here, I was a little bit overreactive with the pappies and the glide slope there. It was quite hard to see the runway markings. See the drift on, rudder in, into the flare, floated just a bit too much here, which started to compromise things, but there we go, touchdown. Smoke effect's quite nice. You can see that even when you think you've gone quite far to one side from the flight deck, it's surprising how big the normal width runway can handle it, basically. So slightly early flare there, as you can see, but drift came off and touchdown. Yeah, not much else to say on that, really. That's what we aim to do. Let's rewind it now. See if I can figure a correct point to build it. Oh, the first officer's come to join us now. So, what I'm going to say is, let's put it into the appropriate view for the approach. And I'm going to say, hello. Hello. A bit late. She doesn't like the new side stick being in the way. I might do a little video showing you how I've got that set up now, because it's this has been the most authentic sort of Airbus side stick experience I've had on my home sim. Having this grip set up at the right height is really, it does feel excellent. But anyway, that's for another time. So yeah, so thank you all for coming along. Thank you very much for the moderators. Dougal, thanks very much, glad you enjoyed it, and Lauren B and all the other moderators who've taken the time to come along and look after us. Thank you to those who kindly donated and those who watched along. Thanks for the likes, thanks for the follows on Twitch, and thank you to everyone who chatted and didn't chat and just watched. Really appreciate it. It's been great fun. I really enjoy doing this, and that's because you guys come along to it. So thank you all, and we will have more videos coming out very soon. I am, of course, going to have more guides coming, more tutorials, and we're going to have more live streams, both of the Q400 and the Airbus, and some other aircraft as we can get around to it. And hopefully some more hardware if you guys are enjoying the hardware videos. Do let me know what you think of them. Yeah, but anyway, like I said, really enjoyed it. Thank you all for coming along. Have a great evening, keep safe and well, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.